Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 329th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call, we have Andy Patterson and Donny Baseball. Glorious return. Talk about a skeleton crew tonight. We're close to digging up a few graveyards for a panel at the moment. Maybe Xanax Dave and Seb will be en route, but it's a busy time of year. We've made it here. We'll be on for an hour or so, if nothing else. Rapping Rob Kelly is supposed to be joining us as well. Interesting fights over the weekend. Not a great deal of quality, but we saw Richard Comey, we saw Jamal Charlo. There were other bits and pieces over in Italy. Paul Hyland, MTK show as well. We'll be talking about them later. Nothing of any great interest next week, only a couple of questions. Welcome to you all in the chat. Warm good evening to you. Wherever you're listening to us, you might be listening later on in the week on iTunes, YouTube or whatever. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Let's get stuck into it then, shall we, Andy? We'll start off with Demetrius Andrade, the Dunkin' Donuts Centre in Providence, Rhode Island. I always thought Rhode Island sounded quite nice, actually. Maybe I'll get there one day. Been to Boston, never quite made it over to Rhode Island. Anyway, enough of that. Demetrius Andrade shutting out Maciej Sulecki. Sulecki reminded me of a skinnier version of former Northern Irish heavyweight Scott Ding Ding Belshaw. He has a go. He's tough. He's a decent boxer, the pole, but he's technically limited, I thought. And what I'll say about Andrade, a few people will be looking at him and saying, oh, he's not great. I mean, he's okay. He starts quite fast and then he usually slows down. But this time I thought he maintained the pace quite well, Andy. He's going to be hard to beat, I think. He wins rounds, he coasts, he's comfortable in that sort of defensive shell. He's difficult to catch clean. He's a bit of a spoiler. He's going to be tough to beat.
He can be tough to beat. I think he's, last night he just had it too much his own way, too much comfiness, or he was just too comfy, I think. Didn't really kind of care as to how sloppy he looked skill-wise and stuff like that. But, you know, as you say, he shut out the Paul, who technically limited, but also shown now that's the last two fights I can think of that he's shown. Maybe he's not got the greatest resistance when it comes to kind of getting, you know, taking shots. He gets dropped, he gets a few times through fights and stuff. But, you know, other than saying is he's done his job pretty fast. Like, there's three things usually, you know, basically kind of confirmed in life now: death, taxes, and Demetrius Andrade going practically 12 rounds every fight. You want to see him kind of switch it up a little bit. He is going to be very difficult to beat. I know we've got a question here about Billy Joe Saunders, for example, but again, I think it's got. I was talking to Tommy earlier on and stuff like that. I think it could be a while before I watch Andrade again, unless he's fighting someone that's like someone of any significance, or a fight that's actually going to mean something, because he does nothing for me. And I'm going back a few years with him now. Actually, he does nothing really. It sounds negative, that, you know, he's done his job, but at the same time, he just doesn't kind of, you know, float my boat. You know, he is, you say, difficult, tricky southpaw. He almost like his hands goes in flurries that there last night and that as well. You know, and I suppose the other thing we could give him as well, he's had a quick turnaround the fights. He's active. That's about the main thing. But I want to see unification fights now. And I want to see him kind of step up and, you know, type of opponents. I don't know if they would entertain the Saunders fight again, unless it's a mandatory defence and stuff. You know, obviously we've got the kind of issue with Hearn and Warren's sort of contend with there. But yeah, I suppose he moves on to the next fight and that. But who against, I really don't know. But all I can really say is congratulations to him. He had a shutout victory, 120. He was at 107 or 106 across the cards and that. So
Yeah, he dropped Sulecki in the first, didn't he, Andy? That created the 120, 107 across the board. You could have maybe given Sulecki around 2 rounds at the absolute maximum. I thought it was pretty one-sided.
Probably the last 2 rounds, I mean, because I gave up after 9, 10 rounds. As I say, it was just kind of rinse and repeat. And I say, it's like if you get your opponent, unless you're not a nutty puncher or you've got hand issues, I want to see him kind of like get his opponent out of there. He just showed he was class above the guy, you know. So again, as I say, I'll let Donny come in there. I dare so, because he's not been on for a few weeks and stuff, for a few decades, shall we say. But as I say, he done his job, professional as possible, and that. But again, he wasn't tested. He wasn't in any sort of trouble. He kind of got it all his own way and stuff. So yeah, that's all I can say. He done his job, but nothing impressive, in my opinion.
Yeah, just as we bring Donnie in, I've seen Andrade box up close and personal that time against Walter Corton-Dockwah, and he is a really strange proposition, Donnie, the way Andrade fights. He's quite tall, but he crouches low. He has that awkward body style, and Selecki was trying to throw the left hook, but Andrade, Donnie, he sort of slides off to the side and it flows past him. He's awkward to catch clean, I think. You're gonna have to come up with some kind of a style. I don't know, maybe duck at the waistline or something. As Emmanuel Stewart used to tell his fighters, bring those punches down, hit Andrade in the chest if you can.
Yeah, that would be a thought. Yeah, or yeah, try to get to his body. I mean, he is really awkward. Um, and his height and his reach and being a southpaw for that division is I think it does pose problems. And he's not the most exciting fighter in the world. And especially once he reached top level, he really stopped knocking people out. I don't think he has tremendous power. So he's kind of in that who needs him club. In other words, he said last night, I think in his post-fight interview, that that Sulecki was top 10, and he's like, I'm beating top 10 guys, and I'm active, and and now he is. For a while, the biggest problem in his career was chronic inactivity, but now in fact he is active, and this is his third fight in 8 months, and so I think he is doing what he needs to do to be considered. But the thing is that because he's not doing it in this like hugely emphatic fashion, it's hard to get people to to demand the big fights for you. And I think because he's so awkward, I don't think Canelo or GGG are going to want to touch him with a 10-foot pole, to be honest with you. Even though they're all on the same DAZN platform, so in fact they really have no excuse for not fighting him. If Canelo and GGG aren't going to fight each other, I do want to see one or both of them take this test. It may not be the best fight, or it may be a good fight, because sometimes when you have those contrasting styles, it does make for a good fight. In other words, you need a come forward guy to maybe put a guy who likes to fight off the back foot and use his length and his jab, and his ranginess. It kind of brings the best out of both guys. So maybe that would create a good fight for him. But like Andy said, he goes, I want to see the big fights for him now. But do you really see one of the big names in the division wanting to take him on? Personally, I don't. Even though there's no reason why it shouldn't happen. I mean, the only reason why it shouldn't happen is if Canelo and GGG are busy fighting each other yet again, for the third time. And I don't have a problem with that. I would welcome that fight. But if they're not going to fight each other, I would like them to take this challenge. Winky Wright never provided for particularly aesthetically pleasing fights or whatever, but he was goddamn good, and and you had to go through him if you wanted to call yourself the man. And for a while he reigned supreme in his division. So I'd like to see them fight Andrade. I've been high on him for like a long time, by the way. I went to school in Rhode Island, and so I've seen some of his fights when he was coming up, even in the amateurs when I was young, and and then his career just sort of really just went on some sort of off track where he just wasn't active and he wasn't getting the fights, and he had promotional problems and managerial problems. But he's still a young man, and he's still clearly I think at the height of his powers. So I'd like to see him mix it up with the big names. Not only to see what he's got, but also to test those other guys against something they probably haven't seen before.
Yeah, I'm liking that Ronald Winky Wright comparison there from Donny. I suppose the good thing is Wright had to go on the road. He was the archetypal road warrior. He ended up in South Africa fighting the likes of Harry Simon, came over to the UK, fought guys like Ensley Bingham, who's a really talented fighter. Wasn't until towards the end of his career when Wright really got the recognition that he deserved. As for Andrade, he's more active now, but he's also on DAZN. So hopefully DAZN, John Skipper will say, look, you're contracted to us for a reason. We want you to fight Canelo or Triple G and vice versa. If we're going to be paying you $20-30 million, you're going to have to at least fight the best in the division. And love him or hate him, like his style or not, Andrade has a WBO title, so he's got to get in the mix at some place, and they're going to have to make those fights. So hopefully John Skipper will force them. Everybody in the chat are pretty active tonight. Welcome to you all. Mike Wigan has said Andrade doesn't have enough power at the elite level, which seems like a pretty... I don't know. We haven't seen him have to bring his power out, I don't think. If he's maybe struggling in a fight and it's late on and he has to plant his feet and go for it, we might see some power from Andrade. We might see a bit of spite, a bit of bite in his punches. Because he can drop people, Donny, early on, but then he's like, I can drop you. I could stop you for once. I can outclass you. I'll just sort of coast down the stretch. Maybe we will see a bit of punch power if he needs to bring it out.
Yeah, it's look, he's durable too. I mean, what was interesting is that interesting, such a stark contrast to the way that I think British fighters are brought along. What is Andrade? I don't know what he's 31 or whatever. Apparently, in his pro career, that was the very first time he fought in his hometown, which is crazy. And he brought out 8,000 fans. So and that's if you think about it, that's pretty surprising, given that he fought in his hometown, basically since he turned to be a professional. And hopefully that will, show. I mean, in other words, Terrence Crawford was the same way. Bob Arum would be throwing all these random casinos all throughout the Midwest, and then on undercards in Vegas or whatever. And Crawford was like, I can build a following. Just put me up in Omaha, and Arum didn't want to do it, and then Crawford proved him wrong and brought out all these fans. I think that a lot of times I think these guys need to be built up locally first, and that would solve a lot of problems and create some stars all throughout the levels of boxing. But that's sort of just an aside, not really relevant to what we were talking about, but I just wanted to mention that.
No, that was good, Donny. Thank you for that irrelevant point. T11 in the chat was mentioning Andrade's style. So he bounces, he throws a shot, and then he sort of does this strange sort of kangaroo hop out of range as if he doesn't like being hit. I suppose nobody likes being hit, but there you go. We'll hit you with something, Andy. There's a dislike in the chat. They're not liking this content already, but sure, we'll keep going, shall we, anyway? What about, no, I'm not going to bother about Khalid Jafar. I'm not even going to talk about him. No, he's 25-0, 26-0 now. Norberto Jimenez. Didn't see it, no interest whatsoever until he's unifying. I won't be watching Yafai. Yeah, there's someone looking on. I'm going to try and get him on now. We've got a guest coming on as well, about 8:30, so we should have something doing. Just getting sidetracked, Andy. Joseph Parker wasn't really the greatest opponent. Alex Lepi set for 12 rounds, managed to get rid of him in the 10th. What are we looking at Parker going forward then, Andy? Do you think you would imagine if Ruiz beats Anthony Joshua in the rematch, then it's a natural fight to make a defense for Ruiz against the guy who narrowly beat him? There's a storyline there. Parker keeps winning. Ruiz beats Joshua. They might try and make that fight.
Yeah, possible. I seen some comments attributed to Parker earlier on the day and stuff like that. He must, I think he basically admitted that he's disappointed he never basically went all in for the Joshua fight when when he fought him, kind of like the latter half of that fight. But who he fights, I'd like to see him. I don't know, maybe trying maybe target maybe a Trevor Bryan or stuff like that. I know he's got one of the kind of fake belts and stuff, maybe a Kowanaki or whatever. But I really don't know where he goes next and stuff. What we got here? Ortiz, he's still floating about still, Povetkin's had a fight pulled out of him as well. And obviously Pulev's under suspension still as well, so we don't know what's going to happen with him anytime soon. So that'd be Caballel. Because as I say, the title situation is this: he's not going to get a world title fight anytime soon, and unless Ruiz is wanting to kind of get a rematch if he beats Joshua in his rematch, if he wants a rematch with Parker and that, then good and well. But again, mate, it's about this heavyweight division, isn't it? It's just there's no really much inspiring fights here to be made. Which, incidentally, by the way, I did notice Usyk. Obviously, we know the news about him being WBO #1, but I see the WBA have now chucked him at #2. Just FYI there, like.
No problem. Cheers, Andy. Right, joining us on the call. This gentleman was looking on last week, couldn't quite make it happen, but we've done it this time. H Money, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, sir. How are you doing today? It's a pleasure to be on this show, and I just want to tell you I am definitely a huge fan of you, brother. I just want to know, what's your name?
Steve.
Steve, I'm a huge fan of you. I love the way you break down fights, and you kind of remind me of Eddie Hearn, the way you articulate boxing, and I love it. I really do.
Excellent. I'll take that as a compliment. Thanks very much. What do you want to talk about this evening?
Well, I would love to talk about yesterday's fights, especially Demetrius Andrade. What a spectacular performance. He showed us great skills last night, and he showed us the power. I mean, let's think about his last 3 fights. Demetrius Andrade, his first fight on the zone, where he was supposed to face Billy Joe Saunders before Billy Joe tested positive for steroids. I mean, that fight was against an African brother. He was undefeated. And Demetrius Andrade knocked him down 4 times in that fight. And then his next fight, he stopped his opponent. And yesterday, he scored another knockdown. and won every round. Just a spectacular performance. And I'm a huge fan of Andrade.
So where's he going to go next then? What is old Eddie Hearn going to do with him, do you think?
I believe Eddie Hearn, the best promoter in the history of boxing.
Shut the fuck up, you. Fucking Eddie Hearn.
Eddie Hearn, the Matchroom Boxing is number one. And I believe Eddie Hearn, he's going to give him the big fights. If Triple G is not afraid to fight him, or Canelo, or if that Charho, have you ever heard of somebody named Charho? The Charho sisters?
You smoke too much blunts, mate.
Steve, I think
yeah, these guys are the Charhos. These guys are bums only. Bums only promotions. I'm tired of these loudmouth clout chasers.
Hold on, H Money. Donny Baseball wants to come back in. Go on, Don.
I was going to say, as they say across the pond, I think this guy is taking the piss.
Well, like I said, I mean, Demetrius Andrade has been calling out Charlo for years. If you don't believe me, all you have to do is YouTube it. Demetrius Andrade pulling up on Charlo after his win against Julian Williams. Demetrius Andrade called him out at the press conference. Demetrius Andrade called him out again in the hallway, and Charlo's been ducking him, making so many excuses. Charlo, who's fighting Uber drivers, last time I checked.
Yeah, okay. So, well, who's to blame for these fights not happening then? Is it Charlo himself, or is it Al Heyman, or what?
I would say it's Charlo, because Charlo himself said that Demetrius Andrade, he's broke. We're not going to fight him. Let's let him suffer. You know, we don't want to fight him. Nobody knows him. But now Demetrius Andrade, he's way more known than Charlo. He fought 3 times in 8 months, way more active, and he's making more money, and he's the WBO 3-time world champion.
Here, mate, there's nest of grass canyon on here tonight.
I'm here to talk boxing. I mean, enough with the insults. I'm just here to talk boxing.
Listen, tell me more about yourself then. Because
talk about it as if you're not reading it off a script then, for fuck's sake.
Well, I just want to tell you about myself. I'm definitely a huge boxing fan. I've been watching boxing my whole life, ever since a child. I would say around like 4 years old, the first time I watched my first fight. And I come from a family of fight fans. My dad was a huge Ali fan. Me, Roy Jones, Bernard Hopkins, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis. I mean, the list goes on. I like every fighter, but right now, as of today, I am Mr. DAZN, Mr. Matchroom Boxing.
Steve, fucking get rid of him, man. Fuck.
Hang on. Before I get rid of him, I got one more question, because we have to get a guest on in a minute anyway. So tell me about AJ then, because he was Mr. Matchroom Boxing before he got upset by Andy Ruiz. Did you see that one coming then?
Of course, I watch every fight on DAZN, and I just want to say keyword was Mr. DAZN. Until he got upset by Andy Ruiz. And I mean, I was highly disappointed in Anthony Joshua. I'm actually a Usyk fan, and you know Eddie Hearn has Usyk, he has Joseph Parker, he has Dillian White, he has Filip Hrgovic. I mean, the list goes on the great fighters on Matchroom, especially the heavyweights. And right now, I feel like Usyk is definitely the best heavyweight on Matchroom, being an Olympic gold medalist, and he's ranked top 5 pound for pound in the world on the ESPN list, and also he's undisputed. So, I mean, he is the highest ranked heavyweight, definitely. I like Deontay Wilder as well. That guy has massive power.
All right then, H Money, thanks for coming on. Any final words of wisdom to our listeners?
Okay, everybody just tune in, watch DAZN if you can. If you're in the UK, stream it. Eddie Hearn, #1 promoter in the history of boxing. Matchroom Boxing, #1 in the world. Matchroom Boxing.
Fucking whole money right enough, man.
Thank you.
Who the fuck was that?
I don't know. Oh, there you go, man.
I don't even know what that was, but I liked it.
That was a plant, and that's obviously he's reading it off a script, man. He was. Did you hear it?
I don't even know what to say about that. Do you enjoy that one, Andy?
Yeah, it was fantastic, Steve. I love it.
Again, it was good. If you're gonna play a character, play it well. He played it well.
He reminded me of man Phil, who was on before. Do you remember when he said, "I love the show and I listen all the time"? What's the name of the show again? There you go. H Money. Congratulations.
Listen to us all the time. Doesn't even know what your name is, Steve.
Yeah, I know Tosh. Tosh says in the chat, "Never again, Steve." To be honest with you, this guy came in the chat last week. That's the first time I'd seen him. He came in again this week. I would say that we won't see too much of him in the chat from now on, to be honest. So I think we can put that one to rest. Where do we go from there, Andy? That's the big question.
You should end the fucking call now, mate. Let me go to bed. I think I've caught AIDS after that, man.
Well, our friend there, Mr. Money, was talking about Jamal Charlo, in fact, and he was in action last night. If Andrade was posting a shutout decision, Charlo's against Brandon Adams was very nearly the same. He did win a round on somebody's card anyway, did Mr. Adams, but it was pretty piss poor fare. This is the guy that was trying to get in, Brandon Adams, for Triple G, but then they ended up with Steve Rolls instead, so... there you go. Charlo got hold of him. I liked what I saw, Andy, early on from Charlo. He was swinging wildly. He was missing, but that meant at least he was throwing shots. He moved onto the front foot for once. And because sometimes I think the Charlos are maybe a little bit too particular. They're too precise. They don't throw caution to the wind enough. And this time, at least Charlo did go for it. But going forward, putting this fight to one side, where do they go from here? Because they can't keep fighting this level of opposition. They're going to have to get something better. Even though I'm a Heyman fan, he's going to have to, Andy, find them something better.
Yep. So this is what weight was this fight at again? I'm still struggling to remember which one's which again. This is the middleweight version. Is that right?
Yes. Sorry. This is the middleweight one. Yeah.
Yep. So where does he go from here next? I think he'll probably go for that Polish guy. He's not a big puncher. What do you call him again? I can't remember his name, but you've got him. You've got a Polish fighter.
Which one are you talking about, Andy? The one who's just fought Andrade, no?
No, there's another one, mate. I'm sure. Give me a second. Just let me pull up fight news here. Give me a second, just to. I'll find his name now.
Is this Jeremeta?
Is that his name? Give me a second.
Camille Jeremeta.
Yep, him. Yeah, that's him.
Okay.
So maybe him. I know he's highly ranked with the bodies. What's happened with Quigley these days? I know there's been talking that going about him, but he seems to be highly ranked. But activity-wise, what's the story with him?
Well, his activity, he was doing well, and then he had the fight with Tapia. He had another fight where people weren't too impressed with him. There was talk about him fighting Lemieux at one point. He was out on the West Coast, wasn't he, with Oscar De La Hoya? He's come home now to the Dominic Ingle camp, but I've actually heard nothing of him. He's completely slipped off my radar, Andy. I'm seeing him here just tucked in at number 15 with the IBF, but I mean, what is going on with Quigley? It's maybe one of the guys who's listening, maybe Joe or Kev or something, could get in touch and or update me, because I've no idea. It's a waste of talent too. He's a good fighter.
Falcao's with Golden Boy, I'm pretty sure, is top ranked with the Brazilian Olympians. Luis Arias, Christ, he appeared now as well. I've not even seen him fighting for a while. So there's for example, Liam Williams there top. You wouldn't be surprised to see Williams getting the call for a fight against like Charlo and that. They're talking about their lines only, and that for me it's non-lines only. They're all talk. I think I forget. I think it's this one that actually is meant to have been mouthing off Danny Jacobs and stuff like that. And Jacobs called him up, basically walked past him one night in front of an arena, and he just basically they did back off him. But you know what I mean? He was kind of quieter than that than what his husband in the past. But yep. Then Jam's talking kind of about, I suppose, his name value, but after Smith, what he's done to him and stuff like that. It might give him a knockout victory, shall we say, for Charlo, because I just think coming off that last night, he needed some sort of kind of big performance. But I just, again, Korobov is a decent one, but at that point in Korobov's career, was he fully active, semi-retired? Jorge Highland, is that not the guy that retired Matthew Macklin?
Well, sure, look at the state of Highland when he came in, Andy. They kept him waiting for like 2 years, and when he came in, he was that desperate to take his chance. He came in with a big plaster on his knee. Do you remember that? He could barely even walk. It was embarrassing.
WBC title fight, or was it some sort of eliminator or whatever? And that. And Hugo Centeno. So again, it's apart from the Julian Williams fight, which was real, well, maybe to a lesser degree Trout, but I think the Julian Williams fight really kind of gave this guy a platform that he hasn't really kind of stepped up to and actually kind of proved it. Especially if you're talking about, if you like Highland and Centeno and Korobov and Adams are meant to be like a step above Williams, who clearly isn't he? So I don't know. At this point in his career, he's another one who needs a proper test now. As you say, you can go along, you can keep getting these title defences or WBC ranked fighters and stuff, but at some point you're gonna have to step it up. for me,
He's not active enough, Andy. It's 6 months
No.
since he fought. I mean, it's
But for-
ridiculous.
But for me, if it's possible, I want to see him fight Danny Jacobs because I think there seems to be a bit of needle there between the two. So I think that would be the natural fight to get made as well. So I would like to go for Danny Jacobs and Charlo next.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're just not active enough. As I say, it's nearly July now, nearly 7 months since he last fought against Harrison, and that's just not good enough. On the undercard, Erickson Lubin returned against Zakaria Atu. The Ramirez Morero fight was knocking about, but I just couldn't bring myself to watch it because I couldn't really tell you anything about either of them. And there's only so much you can watch, isn't there, over the weekend, so I had to give that one a pass. It's not a good look, Donny. I don't think Charlo's opponent, this Brandon Adams, he was highly thought of at one point. He ended up losing to William Monroe Jr. Then he came back again and they thought, oh, maybe it was just a blip. Went in with John Thompson and got knocked out by Thompson. I think it was one of those tournaments, maybe. I don't think it was the Contender, but it was similar to that, Don. And then Thompson obviously went on to fight Liam Smith and showed that he was decent. He was nothing great. Lost the WBO title, but that just showed the level that Brandon Adams is at. And now he's coming back and fighting against Charlo. Are you with us, Donny? Charlos need to step it up. They're just not active enough. They do a lot of talking, but they just don't do a lot of fighting. They don't do a lot of punching either.
Yeah, I mean, this is just sort of a keep busy fight for him. I mean, he needs to get back in the mix with the real contenders, and that's the reason why I only saw highlights of the fight. I didn't watch the whole thing because I knew right before I saw the the announced opponent on the card that there was not going to be very much to see here, and I was right.
Donny right as usual. Yeah, right. Okay. My computer has slowed right down, so I'm trying to get onto the next page. I need to ring our guest up as well. All these things to do. We'll get there eventually. Has he stalled long enough? Yes, he has indeed. Andy, Richard Comey knocking out Ray Beltran. A lot of people have a lot of love for Beltran. It's all like, oh, let's get him his green card, shall we? He's a working class guy. He's had it tough. He's lost a few decisions. That he's coming overweight there in the Comey fight. He's been tested positive for PEDs in the past. Is Beltran this good guy? I don't know, but I tell you who is a good guy. Comey himself. He's really maturing into a nice looking fighter now. IBF champion as well. He could be a test for people, including Andy. A few people are saying maybe Lomachenko.
Yeah, I'll talk about Lomachenko unification next if this the Campbell Loma fight comes off and that actually. But it seems like the way it's probably going to work. I think we're going to get fucked with politics here. I think what's going to happen here. I think we're going to have. If all things fall into place, we'll have Comey fighting Teofimo Lopez. So we'll wait and see. As for Beltran and stuff like that, I get it. He was in the corner with Pacquiao for years as the chief sparring partner and stuff like that. He's worked his knackers off. He should have been champion when he came over to Scotland to fight Burns. Maybe the fact is he's near 40 or something like that, I believe, and he's struggling to make weight now. I mean, he's been a 135 fighter now for his entire career, I'm sure. Maybe even fought maybe at super featherweight for a wee bit, but yep. I forget what drug he got caught for again actually as well, but it could have a knock-on effect as well. Maybe that's how he was cutting weight. As I say, I forget what he was using, but if he has been using in the past to try and make weight, maybe it's caught up with him. Who knows? But what we do know off the back end of this fight is he either needs to retire or step down in levels if he's want to keep fighting, because to me, anybody at supposed world level, certainly at elite level, is going to badly hurt him, because he got chinned pretty early in that fight, and any other subsequent punch that he took, it was kind of semi-flush. He couldn't hold it, and then the end shot in the 8th round in that was at the left hook, I think it was. And it didn't look like there was a lot of meat on the shot actually, but he just seemed to kind of like stagger back and fall at his arse, and it was kind of sad to see actually, because Beltran, for what I remember, he always brought it. He was trying to get you up against the ropes and kind of tag the body. None of that, absolutely none of that. So I think it's now a clear sign that he's been basically brought in there. I want to say it's some sort of kind of safe defence for Comey, because he's coming off the hand problem. But fair play to Comey in that as well, because he was using long shots. The left hook was pretty much on point. He was very, very solid. So yeah, almost not much for him. But for Beltran, for me, I think he needs to kind of seriously consider his future in the sport. Certainly retirement, or step down in a few levels, because it's going to be hard for him at this age, considering he's been fighting, prime spots and TV and stuff like that, but decent money fights and title fights and stuff. But unless he's got his money put away in that, there's not really much need for him to kind of keep fighting in that. So decent career, and finally got his world title in the end, but he lost it after, was it the first defence, I think it was, and I forget when he felt positive from that, but I've not got a caller on the call now, Steve, so I'll bring him in.
He
Yep.
he tested positive a long time ago when he was still trying to make 130, I think, and he took diuretics to try to make the weight, and he was fighting some Japanese fella.
Donny, I hate to cut you short. I know you're about to give us a bit of information.
Wait.
I'll come back to you very shortly. It's okay. Just so that we've got our first guest of the evening on the call, James Branch Jr. Delighted to have you on, James. How are you?
Hello, mate. All good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. We're just talking about the action from the weekend, mainly the American stuff, but also an MTK show on Friday night. Did you manage to see any of it?
I see. I see. The only fight I see was Danny Darko versus Martin McDonough. I had an interest in that. Obviously, I know both of the fighters, so I should have kept an eye on that. You know what I mean? I watched that fight. Yeah, I watched that one. It was good.
What did you make of it then? Do you think that Danny was a worthy winner in the end?
Yeah, I think Danny won the contest, didn't he? I think he was a little bit too strong, a little bit too mature for Martin, you know. So Martin he did start getting into it in the middle stages and that, but I think overall, Danny was just too strong when he just overpowered his shots, and Martin just couldn't get off with his style that he wanted to use on him.
Just before you came on there, we were talking about Demetrius Andrade, Jamal Charlo, possible fights in the future with guys like Canelo, Triple G, Danny Jacobs. It's hotting up at middleweight. Billy Joe Saunders, I suppose he's up at super at the moment, but there's a lot of fights to be made. Who do you see as the number one? Probably Canelo?
Right, yeah. Well, in the middleweight.
In the middleweights, yeah.
I think you've got to say Canelo. I think I'd say Canelo. I'd say I need to put Billy Joe Saunders went back down. I'd put him number two. I think Billy Joe would beat Golovkin. I'm not sure about Canelo, you know.
Yeah, Canelo, he's a different animal, isn't he? But Billy Joe, I'd like to see him down at middleweight, James. Do you think he'll be better work down at middleweight?
Yeah, I think he's better. I think there's better fights. I think there's some better fights from down there. Now, I want to see him go. I'd like to see him go back down because I want to see him fight Canelo. I think he'd beat Golovkin, but obviously I think it's just a lot of political stuff behind closed doors why the fights are not happening.
Yeah, there's always a bit of politics behind the scenes. Just looking at your career, obviously you signed with Frank Warren. You're a former Team GB amateur standout. What's it like with Frank at the moment? Are you enjoying life as a pro?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. I'm living my dream. You know, this is what I've dedicated my whole life to this game to be a professional boxer, and it's all gone good so far. So I've been pro just gone a year now. A year the other day. I've had 5 fights, so I can't complain. I've been busy, you know. I've been nice and active. So no, it's all going good so far. I'm enjoying it with Frank. We're just pushing on now, just pushing onwards and upwards, you know, starting to push up and progress through the rounds, and hopefully we'll be on fighting for titles soon.
Yeah, you're a cruiserweight. You're obviously only 23. So is it all about sort of moving up 6 rounds, 8 rounds, 10 rounds, and then looking at titles after you've got that experience?
Yeah, it's about doing it. It's about taking my time, and I've got plenty of time. You know, I mean, you look at all the cruiserweights in this country. The majority of them are all 27, 28. They've all got a few years on me, you know. But I won't be able to stall that much because obviously I had a very good amateur background, you know what I mean? So obviously I'll be pushing on. But I've got time, you know, I've got time on my hands. I'm lucky, really. I'm in a good position. I'm in a very good position.
You mentioned about the amateurs there. Obviously, you fought Lawrence Okoli a couple of times as an amateur. People are sort of trying to push you two together already. But what do you remember about fighting Lawrence as an amateur?
They were good fights. I mean, they were good fights. Me and Lawrence was in, to be honest with you. It was like that. If you can watch them on YouTube, the boxing was out the window, to be honest with you. We done 6 rounds of 2 fights of 3 rounds, 2 fights in the amateurs, and it was just all that action, you know, for the whole time, for the full 9 minutes. We was at each other, and it's 1-1. So obviously, in the future, we need a decider. You know what I mean? That'll come eventually.
You mentioned it being all action there at times as a pro. Lawrence has had a sort of style where he's maybe been criticised in the likes of the Askin fight. They said he grabbed a little bit too much. Is he just adapting to being a pro and doing what he needs to do?
Yeah, that is sort of Lawrence's style. I don't think that'll ever change. He's always been the same. Really, he uses like his weight, his strength to wear people down. I don't think Lawrence, to be honest with you, I don't think he'll ever change. He'll never change too much. Do you know what I mean? No matter what trainer he's under, no matter who he's with, that's just Lawrence's way, and it's working. It's worked for him so far. So it is what it is. Sometimes at the end of the day, all that matters is winning, isn't it? So he's doing good so far. He's winning. Things they're talking about pushing him on for a world title soon. I see people are saying so. No, he's doing well. Fair play to him. That's just his style and that's his way.
Yeah, definitely. Just final one on Okola. You've obviously been in up close and personal with him. He looks like a really big unit. Is he physically strong?
He's strong. Yeah, Lawrence is a strong man. I think that's what he uses for his advantage. He's a big cruiserweight. He's a massive cruiserweight, and so that's what he uses to his advantage in the ring, oversizing and trying to overpower the fighters. It's just about knowing what to do to counteract that, which no one seems to recognise so far.
Just back on your career as well, James. Who do you train with at the moment, and what kind of guys do they get you sparring in with?
So I'm training with Martin Bowers. I'm under Martin Bowers at the Peacock. Sparring, I spar whoever's really down. I spar a lot of the light heavyweights and that come down. There's always sparring walking through a door down the Peacock. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I spar alongside Dan Dubois a lot. Me and Dan do brands. Yeah, whoever really comes in the gym. We've got a team. There's a few light heavyweights in the gym. A few couple of cruiserweights, couple of heavyweights. You're just getting in and mixing in with them, you know.
Daniel Dubois is obviously going in with Nathan Gorman soon. Gorman's a skillful boxer, good mover, but Dubois seems to have the power, the equaliser.
Yeah, I think that fight there. I think Dan's going to come out on top in that fight. I think for the first couple of rounds, I think Gorman's going to be a little bit tricky, using his speed, his movement, his agility. I mean, I think for the first couple of rounds, but I can see what I can visualise happening. I think Gorman's going to slow down, tire out towards the later rounds, you know. And then I think I can see the Gorman getting stopped late on.
Oh, interesting prediction. Well, just got a couple more questions for you, James. We do thank you for your time. Any social media presence anybody can catch you on?
Yeah. So you can find me on my Instagram at James Branch. My Twitter's James Branch 95, and my Facebook. You type in James Branch, you'll see my picture. That'd be good if you all can get behind it and follow my career. You know. Yeah,
certainly will do here. We mentioned Frank Warren earlier. Has Frank had a word with you there about possible fights coming up? What's in the pipeline?
I think we're looking to get out in September. I think I'm looking now to be fighting. I think he'll be fighting in September at some point. I ain't got official dates or nothing yet. I'm just going to keep being busy, keep being active. Now start pushing up the rounds, and we'll see how things things pan out. But I reckon 2020 will be the year where all the big moves start happening. You know.
Hopefully so. Just looking on the world scene, obviously you're at cruiserweight. Alexander Usyk won the World Boxing Super Series tournament. They're in the second stages of that right now. Have you been watching the cruiserweights? What do you think of it?
Watched it. I watched a little bit of it. I see Breedis box the other day. Breedis box, didn't he? I see the other Saturday. I think Breedis is probably the number one at the minute. I'd probably say. I reckon. Now Usyk's gone. Obviously, Usyk's gone up. He was the number one by far. Usyk is great. He's a great fighter. Usyk was, but obviously he's gone up to heavyweight. So yeah, I've not really watched too much of this Super Series, but I think Breedis is going to be the one that comes out on top.
Yeah, Breedis is a very good fighter. That was a bit of a strange fight. Also, Dortico.
That was a bit strange. Strange ending.
It really was. I mean, yeah, obviously, I don't imagine you've been involved in anything like that, but it was just chaotic, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was strange. I've never really seen nothing like that, but these things happen. It's funny. It's funny what goes on in the ring, and it happens before you. It's happened and it's done before you even know it. You know what I mean? So no, but it happens. Fair play to him. He won. That's all that matters. At the end of the day, in a few years' time, no one's going to remember how he won and what he won. He won. That's all that matters.
Absolutely. And talking finally of strange things going on in the ring, not many people predicted Andy Ruiz Jr. to defeat AJ. Did you see that one?
Yeah, I see it. I I was shocked myself. I thought that Ruiz was going to be more of a problem than what everyone was predicting. Everyone was writing Ruiz off, weren't they? Everyone thought that Joshua was going to go and blast him out. I knew that weren't going to happen. Ruiz, even though everyone looks at him where he's not that pleasing on the eye, everyone writes him off. But that man is a very good fighter. He had 105 amateur fights, won 100. You don't do that in the amateurs, winning all them fights and for nothing. If you ain't a good fighter, you know what I'm saying. So, and he won all the titles and that in the amateurs. I knew he was a good fighter, and he was unlucky against Parker. Really, that could have gone either way. So I knew he was going to cause a problem, and he just kicked Joshua, didn't he? And that was it. Then Joshua just couldn't get back into the fight, and it was over then. Like, 7th round, he just finished him off.
What about the rematch? Just finally, then, James, do you think AJ can turn the tide, or do you think Ruiz has got his number?
Yeah, I'm split. I actually am split on this one. I don't know. Joshua comes out and gets behind his box, and I think he should have the fight in England. I know they're doing a lot of talking about where the fight's happening and that. There's probably more money for him to have it in America, but I think Joshua should be sensible and have it back at Wembley or somewhere like that. Somewhere that he knows, recognises he's at comfort, like in his own home, in this country. So I think he should have it. I think he should have the rematch in England. I don't really know. I don't know if Ruiz has got his number now. He's going to be super confident. He's going to be super confident coming back into this fight. He knows he took Joshua's best shot. He got back up from it, and he looked unfazed. From it. So I don't know. I think I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence to the rematch. I don't really know what way it's going to go.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. Not really sure what's going to happen, but it's going to be interesting. Yeah. Nonetheless, James, absolute pleasure having you on. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for your time. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
All the best going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. All the best. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good talker, that guy, yeah?
Yeah, excellent. James Branch Jr. spoke really well. Looking forward to seeing him in action. Hopefully he'll appear on one of those Box Nation. Oh, no, Box Nation's dead now, isn't it? It's BT Sports now, everybody. Forget about Box Nation. They're doing IBO cruiserweight title fights from Russia. He might end up in one of them. Who knows? Yeah, I caught myself on the hop at the beginning of that interview. I hadn't planned on talking about the middleweights, and for some reason, I ended up talking about them. The next thing you know, I'm asking him, do you think Canelo's the number one middleweight in the world? And I'm thinking, fuck's sake, Wellings, what type of stupid question is that, man? Of course, Canelo's the number one middleweight in the world. But there you go. That's why the seat's a bit too hot for me sometimes, Andy. You know all about that, and you ask the stupid questions.
Yeah,
but,
you're on fire,
James.
mate.
I'm shot to shit, man. Shot to shit. Right, let's get back onto the action from the weekend. We're on to Richard Comey, weren't we? Donny, do apologise. I cut you off in your prime. I know you were telling us about the Ray Beltran situation. Please go ahead, sir.
No, you know what? I'm upset, and I did get cut off, and I'm not going to continue.
Are you going back to just Donny?
No, I'm just kidding. No. Yeah, basically, I think Ray.
So you want to be known as Just Kidding rather than Donny Baseball now?
No. Well, you know what? Actually, I truly believe that it would be really funny if, like within, WWE wrestling, if like whoever was fighting Ray Beltran just took on like a Donald Trump persona and was like, not only am I going to beat you and knock you out, but I'm also going to deport you and your family, and.
That's because you're a Donald Trump supporter, mate. That's the reason why you came up with that one.
Started wearing like ICE apparel and all that kind of stuff. I think that would really draw a lot of attention to the fight. I think that'd be good promotionally.
Good promotionally, good sexually. Junior Farr, Andy, he's someone that we're often talking about. I'm not sure how far he will go, but he managed to get a win against Dominic Gwynn. He got knocked down in the 4th round, which doesn't look good. But Carlos Adames is one guy I was going to talk about. 17-0. He's now 18-0 with 14 knockouts. Managed to get rid of Patrick Day. Let me just bring up the notes that I have on this guy, Adames. Yeah, so he's ranked number 10 in the world by BoxRec. He looks like someone who could be going a few places. Did you manage to see this one, Donny? Carlos Adames, no?
No, I did not. No.
Not to worry. That's all of the stateside action. Yeah, Snake Hips isn't happy in the chat. Said it's a bit dead tonight. We're trying to get up for you, Snake Hips, man. Trying to inject myself with a few PEDs to give you a better product, but sometimes just not feeling it. It's just not there. Just not there. MTK Global, I was hoping Ozzy was going to be on. He's not here with us tonight, unfortunately, to talk about Ryan Walsh. He got a split decision win over Lewis Paulin. Paulin's from Scotland, Andy. He's 12-1 now. Did you know much about him before he came to this opportunity?
No.
He said he's from Edinburgh. He was a southpaw, 28 years of age. He was a little bit upright, not really a big puncher, but he did a decent enough job. This was on YouTube on Friday night. Ryan Walsh is a good fighter. British domestic level. We know that he stepped up, didn't quite manage it against Celan, but him and his brother have been good servants to the sport. And what about O'Hara Davis, though, Andy? I suppose he was on the undercard against Miguel Vasquez. A few people thought it was a bad decision, but the fact that Ian John Lewis scored the fight seemed to annoy a few people. 97-94. Do you think that they need to maybe go to 3 judges if it's a 10-rounder, Andy, in a fight of some significance, because the referee, it's maybe just a bit too much for him?
Especially that referee, at least. What can you say? But I mean, it's one catastrophe to another with him sometimes and stuff. I'm not being bad about it, but that's just my opinion. I just think it's time for him to, I just think it's time for him to kind of get pushed out the door, really. It was probably kind of like, arguably the biggest bout in the night, actually, and just to kind of put in a scorecard like that, again, I think even Davis even kind of like mentioned that himself and stuff like that. I think he said he had a rib injury in that, but I think he kind of admitted that he lost the fight in that as well, which is good to see, actually. At least, if you get fighters and that who have been humbled like he has, and they kind of come back and just be honest in that. But to be honest, I really don't know what the plan is with Davis at all, actually, in all honesty, because it seems to be since he signed with MTK and that, I think he's only fought it twice or 3 times and stuff, and he hasn't really kind of looked impressive in either of them, in all honesty. So I really don't know what the plan is going to be with him kind of in the future going forward.
Wait, so did Ian John Lewis basically ref and also judge the fight?
Yeah, they used to do this in British title fights, Donny, and English title fights,
I'm
but
aware.
They changed it, yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand that basically that this is very, very common over the United Kingdom, and also actually in the United States. Back in the day, they used to have the 2 judges, and the referee would be the 3rd judge. And obviously, through my familial connections, I do know a lot of judges, some of them that are older. And one of them said to me, he goes, "I literally don't know how it would even be possible for me to judge a fight while reffing it." Because he's like, you're basically trying to worry about the fighter's safety, and you're trying to break up, unnecessary clinches and, things like that. He goes, it's a totally different thing to try to basically organize a fight and to try to make sure that the fight is fought on clean terms and according to the rules, and then judging it at the same time. He goes, it's just too much in your head. It's too much to do that. And he goes, and I don't understand how people would ever be able to be competent and at performing both of those tasks. For high level fights, I don't think that really should ever happen.
Yeah, I remember an American fella used to be on one of the BoxRec forums. He couldn't believe it. It was back in 1998 when Omar Shaker, he was a big punching super middleweight around at the time, ended up fighting Joe Calzaghe.
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember him? He went in with, he was possibly 14-0, 15-0 at the time, and he came over to fight on the Eubank Carl Thompson undercard, I believe it was, in Sheffield in 1998, and he fought against Tony Booth, who was a journeyman. He'd had about 50-odd losses, a few wins as well. He was a good fighter, better than his record suggested, but he beat Shaker, and at the end of the fight, the referee, Tony Green, lifted up his hand, 77-76, and that was it, 8-rounder, it was over. Shaker had got his first loss. This chap couldn't believe it. He was like, what? That's it? There's no judges? He just lifted his hand, and that's it, he's defeated. Couldn't get to grips with this. But even back then, they used to do it in British title fights as well, but they did away with it in the end. I remember fights like Jimmy Vincent against David Barnes, when Jimmy Vincent was completely robbed, and the crowd were going absolutely wild. And I think Larry O'Connell might have been the referee in that one. And people said, right, it's going to have to change. No, it might have been John Key. Anyway, it doesn't matter. People said it's going to have to change. We're going to have get 3 judges in now. So I'm wondering whether for a fight of any decent magnitude, so even O'Hara Davis against Miguel Vasquez in a 10-rounder, should have been 3 judges. I know you've got to pay them and everything, but they would have been in the building anyway. So There you go. Changing tack, Ozzy or Donny. In fact, we haven't really had your opinion on the heavyweights, Donny, because you haven't been able to get on, which is absolutely fine. But we've had AJ getting beaten. Usyk didn't fight. Deontay Wilder got a knockout win. Tyson Fury knocked out Tom Schwartz. What do you think about the landscape now, Donny, of the heavyweight division, that we've sort of had it settle down a little bit over the last 4 or 5 weeks? Where does everybody stand, in your opinion?
Well, obviously, I hope that the next fight for Fury and Wilder is each other. I hope that the next fight for um, Ruiz and Joshua is each other. And I think the winners should fight each other. And then also, yeah, lurking out there in the distance is Usyk. And I think that if Ruiz can beat Joshua, um, I think Usyk actually stands a good chance against some of these heavyweights with his movement. And I'm thoroughly impressed with him. And if he puts on a little, there's no telling what he could do. I mean, Evander Holyfield wasn't a big heavyweight, and he was able to take down a lot of guys. Not only even just like in his prime, but even that whatever who he should have beaten. What was his name? Valuev. He should have won that fight or whatever. I mean, when you get above, there's a reason why the heavyweight limit is like 200 pounds and above. And the reason why is that once you get big enough or whatever, if you've got 200-pound men punching you in the face, you're going to go down. At some point, the size ceases to be relevant, and, it's about how well you can actually fight. And, I think Usyk actually brings a lot to the table, and I think the division's going to get interesting once these, like, what I would call currently the big four, or actually really the big five. It would be Joshua, Wilder, Fury, Ruiz, Ortiz would be the fifth one, and then now you. Once they all get together and they start mixing it up, I mean, I think that you have a wide open heavyweight division, and it's been as exciting right now as it's ever been.
Yeah, the heavyweights are extremely exciting. We're trying to bring the excitement to you here. Episode 329 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. You heard Donny there back after enforced absence. Andy Patterson's with us as well, looking up on the Olympics. What's the latest then, Andy? This is sort of breaking news. We think that and I've been getting emails from the Russian Boxing Association during the week for some reason. They're trying to sort out this AIBA situation. I must be on a mailing list or something. What's actually going on at the moment then?
As I understand, I think they've taken a vote, that is at the IOC, and they basically unanimously voted to basically ban boxing for the next Olympics. By the looks of it, as I understand it, I think we discussed it on here, was it 3-4 weeks ago? Basically, it was AIBA's got like so much debt, something like $16-20 million of debt, and one of the IOC members, I think he's a Serbian or something like that, who basically headed the task force to look into the ties of AIBA with some sort of kind of like some of the affiliates that they'd had with AIBA, and that they've delivered basically a damning report to an IOC session saying the association could reach a debt as much as $29 million by the end of the year. So that's over. That's what $14-15 million extra. That's just incredible. But they've also said they've failed to basically reform at the top of the organisation. The president that we spoke about, I forget his name at the minute, but he had links to organised crime and stuff like that, some Uzbek and that. He said the US Treasury involved in that. He suspended himself for the position, and it's not good enough as far as IOC are concerned. And the AIBA, who basically largely depends on the Olympic Games for most of its revenue, I could potentially see it basically collapsing after next Olympics if rumours are to be true. Because I say, the Olympic Games is the biggest revenue for AIBA, and it's looking like it's going to start getting very, very messy unless it gets resolved between now and then. And it's a shame for the fighters and that who are obviously going through these qualification events and stuff like that, taking punishment, and they're going to be nothing at the other end for it. So it's bad news, like.
Well, I thought that the Chinese guy that took over AIBA or whatever was doing this.
He got punted out.
Rid of the helmets or whatever, and he was doing these, what's that? Something pro boxing, AIBA pro boxing events with some of the best amateur stars, and they were fighting each other in all these different countries, and they were making money because now it wasn't amateur anymore. Really, it was like quasi amateur, and they were having different countries compete against each other, and these events seem to be well attended. From what I could see from from YouTube or whatever, I thought that that they were bringing the sport forward, but it turns out, I guess they're I guess dramatically irresponsible financial mismanagement has caused them to their organization to fall into a really bad place. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's the thing. Well, I see MB in the chat saying is they might even hold their qualification events as late as May, and the games start in July. But can you imagine some of these lesser countries? How the hell are they going to be able to afford that type of stuff? You have to fly a fighter out to wherever to qualify, have so many fights, probably put them up for a couple of nights as well, and then 2 months later, got to fly them back out to Tokyo in Japan to to compete, and they obviously try and make. I don't know. I just think. This whole situation could have been solved 18 months ago, and they never got into it. This president who basically banned himself or suspended himself, he knew all along that he was told, do not take up that post, or you're going to cause. And he did it because he's fucking too arrogant, and this is what's happened. This is the fallout. But it's a fighters you got to feel sorry for here, actually.
Yeah, no, I mean you've got people that have devoted their life to the sport with the hope of making the Olympics. And now because of stupid executives at the top of the organization, if they were to take the boxing out of the Olympic Games or something, I mean, it would ruin these people's lives. Yeah, of course you have to feel bad for the fighters because they didn't do anything wrong. It's these corporate bigwigs at the top who mismanage the organization. I mean, I think they need to really clean house.
Right, let's clean house, kick the back door in. Main man's on here, inject a bit of excitement into the pod. Rapping Rob Kelly, how are you, sir?
Well, what's going on, gentlemen?
We're buzzing. Donny's back with a vengeance here, Rob.
Well, combine Donny back with the fact that Bubu Andrade put on a masterclass last night, you really get the juices flowing, you know what I mean?
Then he started, mate. We had some fucking fiend on Caldwell on there for the boxing voice telling us that Andrade was world class and Eddie Hearn's #1.
Fucking hell. I'm going to try and not say anything because I was getting a bit of stick there during the week from a guy who listens to us. It's actually a nice guy, but he says that we're completely biased against Matchroom, which we've been over and over and over at this stage. And some of the comments I was reading on one of the forums that listeners that listen to us every week said the Irish guy hates AJ and Hearn. He even went as far as to call Eddie Hearn out for a charity boxing match because something he said was vaguely aimed at him. Are you fucking moron? I never called Eddie Hearn out for a charity. Eddie Hearn was calling people out on his Twitter saying that he'd give people a spar that were giving him stick. I was giving him stick and I said I'd take him up on the spar. Eddie Hearn has about 4 inches on me and about 20 pounds, but I'd still give him that work. But it's nothing to do with a personal grudge against him or I hate him that much that I want to fight him. You're fucking idiots that listen to this pod sometime, honest to God. But anyway.
Well,
Hashtag fuck the listeners, Rob.
You might have been talking about Welling for the fucking Irish.
No. No. He was talking. Yeah. No, but yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that road of fucking slagging Matchroom and AJ, whatever. Their time will come again. But I suppose you've covered Bubu Andrade's snooze.
Well, we
last night.
have, but we want to hear your opinion, Rob. What would Mel B have made of the whole spectacle?
Well, that was the first thing I thought of anyway. I wonder if she think, Selecki gave Rosado a good fight, so this could be a tricky one for my Bubu. Realistically, Andrade has some talent. He's got that style. He's got a nice kind of fluid style, but he's not a technician. He's not a top level technician. He's not one of the top guys that I hit you, you don't hit me kind of styles. He's languid and he's kind of loose, but like I saw a clip, one of the clips in one of the rounds where he highlighted where he was trying to do this kind of, it looked like a kind of a rain dance or something around Selecki.
I saw that.
Yeah. And then fucking was like, was going to put the mustard on it with the punch and then missed the fucking punch and ended up on the other side of the ring. Like, he's dross. Like, he's not entertaining. He can't punch that much. Selecki, if you can't outpunch a guy like Selecki, who went life and death with Gabe Rosado with his 12 losses, that's not making any statement for me that he's the top guy at 160, even though 160 is a bit quiet. The two top guys at 160 for me are Canelo and Triple G. Hot on the heels is Charlo, depending on where you see him. And then Andrade is in the mix somewhere. Saunders, obviously, if Saunders is at 160.
Saunders and Jacobs.
Well, Jacobs, I think is, he's had 1 or 2 bites now. I don't know if he's going to. He probably could get back in world title contention, I guess. But I think either of those guys, Saunders, Triple G, Canelo, Danny Jacobs all beat Andrade and quite easily. Like, and he's nothing to watch. Like, he bore you to tears. So, tough watch that one. And Selecki is just a tough competitor. Like, I think he's a B-level guy. Like, isn't he? So,
It looked like they were having a good time in the crowd, though, Rob, to be honest.
Well, sometimes that's where all the action happens. It's funny, actually. I met a fella I was on a stag night last night for me go make bubbles, and we were up in the town of Kilkenny. Now, Wexford and Kilkenny are always great rivals in the hurling. I don't know if anyone watches hurling, but Wexford won their first provincial title today against Kilkenny.
I watched the hurling, mate. I fucking hurled in the toilet this morning after 16 pints of Guinness last night.
Aye, well, listen, I wasn't too far. I managed to. The lads had me at 50-1 to be the last man standing on the stag night, but I proved the doubters wrong and ended up in the Champions League position. But we got talking to this guy, me and my mate Deco from Dublin, and he boxes a little bit. He spars with some of the guys over in the high performance. Madman, right lad. He wants to come on the pod someday. He really does know his boxing, actually. So me and him obviously were talking boxing, and some lad overhears this, and somehow Joe Calzaghe gets brought into it. So I, of course, like with a few drinks on me, I was like, fuck Joe Calzaghe. So this guy, like, I thought maybe wanted to fight me for a few minutes. But then we thought he was on the stag. We asked him, like, we thought he was on our stag. We fucking talking to him for 45 minutes. He wasn't with us at all. So he just kind of joined in randomly. But it was like, who's your man? And I was like, I thought he was on our stag. He's like, he's not fucking on this stag anyway. And someone said to him, hey mate, who are you with? And he was like, such and such. And they were like, I thought you were on this stag. And he was like, I didn't really want to say something. I was enjoying talking boxing with the two lads, so I didn't really want to say. So I told him to check in on the asylum. I told him to listen to the asylum. So maybe his identity would be. But he was telling me he was training with Dennis Hogan, and he had trained with Parker before. He was living in Australia and New Zealand. So I don't know if that's true or not. But a sidebar, that's about as interesting as the fights last night. What else have we got, Steve?
Well, we were. Charlo was fighting last night and Andrade, but your assessment of Andrade, Rob, I'm thinking maybe we can sum it up in this sentence.
You're a fucking bum. You're a fucking asshole. I hope you fucking die.
I saw, did someone bring that? I think Umar brought that up to Chisora, and he said that he just didn't feel like talking at the time.
Just as well. What about Charlo then? He got rid of Brandon Adams just about. I think he had a bad hand, Charlo, which is the reason why he shut Adams out and he didn't knock him out. He really needed to knock that guy out and make a statement, I thought.
I think so, because Adams was out for like 3 years or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's shite.
Yeah, and I think with the Charlos, if you're going to give them B-level guys, normally they will knock them out. And that's why they've got so many kind of highlight reel knockouts. So if you give them someone that can't kind of trouble them or can't punch, they're going to flatten them. I mean, I like the Charlos to watch. I suppose they're exciting-ish. I just think the writing's on the wall for both of them when they come up against the top guy, that they're going to get it because they've been kind of matched so well along their careers, typical Heyman stuff, that when they come up against it, that they're really going to come up short. Like, I just have that sneaky feeling about both of them, even though I think the lighter one is probably better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I was saying as well, at least, that they're letting their hands go. I think sometimes they're too calculating. They sort of want to land the perfect punch all the time. But at least early on, Charlo last night was swinging shots and at least trying to knock Adams out, which I suppose is a bonus. But anyway, I don't suppose you saw anything of Highland against Patera, Rob, out in Italy. Paul Highland Jr. got knocked down 4 times, ended up getting knocked out in the 6th round. I suppose the form guide showed that Ritson knocked out Highland and Patera beat Ritson, so we sort of expected this, but there you go. That's the way it is. Also, Andy, one thing I was going to mention about that card on Friday night, I know you didn't see anything of it, which is fine, but Adam Smith and Darren Barker were on commentary during the Dario Morello fight against Ahmed El Hamwi. Now, Morello's 15-0, and he's shit, Andy. But Smith and Barker were shitting on him all the way through. Oh, this guy's terrible. He's not at any level. This is rubbish, blah, blah, blah. But they're not as quick to do that whenever they're on a Sky show and say if it's like a domestic prospect from, I don't know, say Liverpool or Birmingham or Leeds, they wouldn't be as quick to shit on them then, So maybe they could introduce that type of candour into the Sky show sometimes.
Well, you catch it on the American card sometimes when they're like maybe, critiquing some other fighter and that, he's not good here, or he needs a wee bit of adjustments there, or he's open there. And, this is Adam Smith, by the way, who basically christened Anthony Joshua was the next Muhammad Ali, no long after the man had died and stuff like that. That was a shame of the guy. I just think, it's all kind of sales, car salesman tactics and stuff. But as you say, they're not quick to pull the trigger if they are aligned or signed with Matchroom, who obviously have the exclusive content with Sky. And can also just throw in there by as well as I think it's now starting to hit home, probably with Sky and maybe some of the kind of the Matchroom lovers and stuff like that. That Eddie's now starting to kind of lose control some situations over here and stuff because he's having to cancel cards to a Frank Warren, and it's not looking good for him, by the way. And people can take this how they fucking want to take it, but see, at the end of the day, we kind of did mention this a few months back in that Eddie's going to take his eyes off the prize and he's going to let things slip. He's spread himself too thin. He's not got the stable to basically cover the dates. So yeah, but, you know, and then obviously with Joshua losing and stuff like that as well, it's no good times for him at the minute. So we'll wait and see how it's going to fold out for here and that. But as you say, you know, it's very well evident on Sky broadcasts, on Matchroom shows and stuff like that, the critiquing of British or home fighters or Matchroom aligned fighters and that are nowhere near as bad or as, shall we say, as kind of truthful as to like non kind of British cards, shall we say. Whereas if you get Polly on some of the British commentary feeds and stuff like that, you will get him kind of maybe kind of spitting a wee bit of kind of truth and stuff like that. Other than that, you didn't really usually get it.
Did you know what? You're making a good point, and it's kind of endemic across all the networks now. Like, I mean, DAZN completely, their commentators are completely about the house fighter. ESPN are flagrant with it. They're almost as bad as Matchroom.
Oh, aye.
And then you got like there's only a few guys that call it as it is. They're kind of few and far between. Paul Dempsey, I think, will say whatever. He doesn't care who's the boss. Like he'll kind of call it as he sees it. Paulie Malignaggi's another one. But outside of that, like you've got very few. I think Andrew Ward and Tim Bradley are pretty good. But outside that, you got very few commentators just calling it like it is, which is why you come on here to listen.
To you shitting on Hearn all the time.
Exactly. And upsetting people. Don't listen. Do you ever see the fucking IFL video where Eddie Hearn shows his back garden? Fellas like that are not worried about it. What the fuck are you worried about someone like that for? He's gonna be all right. AJ as well. Don't be you should bashing AJ too much. Oh, don't be talking about AJ. AJ's fucking 6'6", 250-pound weight with about 80 million. He's gonna be okay, right? Don't worry about what I said on the asylum about AJ. He'll survive.
Yeah. You see, when you're listening, what people have to realise is, see, when we come on here on a Sunday night, it's just a bit of crack. Like, you know, at the end of the day, if people come back, like myself personally, I shit on enough people and say about fighters and what have you. So if people give me grief or abuse, then I'll just say, fair enough, I deserve it really, don't I? Because I'm quick enough to shit on other people. So they should be quick enough to shit on me. So I take it. And the boys are the same. It's just a bit of fun at the end of the day. Just come on and chat boxing at the end of the week before you go to work on a Monday morning. Boring, dull lives. You know what I'm saying, Andy?
It's a release.
You know,
it's a release, you know. You get to come in here, you know, get the fucking shoot the shit and stuff like that with some of the lads and that, you know. But you know, to be honest, some of the messages I get privately and that, it's incredible. You know, I hope you die and all that sort of stuff, and your fucking kids catch this. I'm like, fuck off, dude. I mean, seriously. Look, I say it honestly.
Look, you don't have to tell me. I'm new to it all, but I've been listening to it lately. Like, we've got fully grown men defending fight. Look, how dare you be so negative? Oh,
I know,
man, get the fuck out of here. Like,
as I say to them, listen, mate, how deep are you in fucking Joshua's pockets? How much are you getting paid off him? How much is he fucking paying your fucking national insurance and your stamp money? You getting a pension to end it? No, shut the fuck up.
It's like that scene out of fucking Bronx Tale where the kid goes to him about Mickey Mantle. He's like, what the fuck do you give a shit about Mickey Mantle for? See if your fucking father loses his job, what's Mickey Mantle going to do for you? You know what I mean?
Yep.
If anybody wants any more jokes, go over to YouTube. Take Ames. He was on a few weeks ago, friend of the pod. He's always in the chat every week. Take Ames, TAKEAYMZ. He's making some videos at the moment. I haven't watched any, but a few of the guys in the chat have seen them, said they're really funny. He's critiquing the contender division, throwing in a few jokes as well. So I'll go over and watch that after we finish tonight. Shout out to Take Ames. He is a good guy. So go and support him. Also, Dale Nichols as well has his own YouTube channel. Go and listen to that. He's a good fella, putting it straight. Giving it to you straight. Talking of that, Hamed is on the call. Hamed, the Cardiff Crusher himself. How are you, Hamed?
Yeah, I'm good. How's it going?
Not too bad at all. Hamed, you sent our friend H money on earlier. What's going on? What's the deal?
How many? You don't ever get him on again. That guy's a troll. I don't know.
Yeah, we gathered that.
He's been putting out about 5 or 6 different podcasts. So I don't know how he ended up on your channel.
Is he
but
definitely like boxing voice?
He's retarded, man. That's all I'll say. There's something wrong with the guy in the head. He's like he's low place on crack, and I think low place is someone who is crazy, but low place can't talk boxing. H Money is just I think he's mentally something wrong with him. Like
Well, you know what? He's in the
I've
right
heard him
place,
on.
Hamid. This is the asylum, Hamid. We have all sorts on here, all sorts of nutcases, yourself included.
Oh, yeah,
No
is
offense.
the mental asylum.
Come on, then. Talk boxing to me. What did you see over the weekend?
All right. I was just gonna say, what fight was it? Andrade. That was one of the worst fights I've ever seen. I don't ever want to see Andrade fight again. I don't care if he's got a belt. That's a paper belt. We all know Canelo's the clear #1 middleweight. He's the lineal whatever. He's got three unified. He's unified 3 belts. I'd rather see Canelo and Golovkin fight again. If not, I don't mind seeing Canelo and Kovalev fight. I think that's a really good fight, and I think Canelo will probably knock him out. But I would rather see at 175 because if it's at 170, then I can't give Canelo much credit because I think Kovalev's already struggling. But I don't mind seeing fights like Charlo against Andrade or Charlo and Triple G. But just because Andrade's got a belt doesn't mean we need to see it. People get this mistaken with Undisputed. You want to see guys become undisputed, but only when there's clarity, when there's not much clarity. Like Joshua Wilder, there wasn't a clear #1. Like you could argue Wilder might have beaten him or vice versa, and Wilder was a champion longer. With Andrade, I still want to see Andrade fight one of the other guys. I don't mind seeing him and Golovkin fight, but I thought Charlo's fight was okay in terms of Adams. I did say he was much better than Steve Rolls and a couple of the other guys, but Andrade is not someone I want to see ever again because that was one of the worst fights I've seen in a long time. And I was gonna see, yeah, what were you gonna see?
Yeah, Donny's coming in here. Donny's flying in.
Well, I mean, with all due respect, are you fucking crazy? You want to see Canelo fight Kovalev?
Yeah, people are talking about this, Donny. This is a thing.
No. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, Kovalev is big for 175, for Christ's sake. I mean, what are they going to do? Fight at 168? I mean, so you're either going to get a drained Kovalev, try to beat up on Canelo, or you're going to have Canelo jump up to 175 and get his ass handed to him. I mean, Kovalev's punching power, power is the last thing to go. I mean, Kovalev may not be what he used to be, but he would ice Canelo.
He can take body shots. I guarantee you, Canelo will knock him out. If you want to wager something, we could do it.
If it's any amount of money you want,
Kovalev's best chance is outboxing him. Kovalev is not what he was. The guy before the Ward fight was a different Kovalev. He's mentally not the same. His body language is not the same. His punch resistance is not the same. The only reason he beat Alvarez in the rematch is just because he's such a skilled boxer. I think the battle will become down to if Canelo could get on the inside, Canelo wins that fight. And I can't see Kovalev keeping him off with those body shots are vicious. Canelo's already fought at 168. I think people are getting him misinterpreted. I just see it moving up from super middleweight to 175. Canelo's already a big guy, and Danny Jacobs was a big guy as well. I'm not comparing him to Kovalev, but I know Kovalev can punch. Obviously, if Kovalev catches him, he can knock him out. But I think it's going to become a boxing match, and I think Canelo will surprise people, and Canelo will be the puncher in there.
Go on then, Donny, respond to that.
I didn't even know that people were talking about this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that's crazy. And third of all, I would also say that just because you're saying, it's clear who the man is at 160, and I need to see Andre fight more people or whatever. He just last night basically at middleweight you've got the top 5 are pretty clear. You've got Canelo and GGG, you've got Jacobs, and you've got Billy Joe Saunders. And then everybody else pretty much below that isn't all that much. So it's either like he fights those guys or he doesn't. Selecki's top 10 or whatever. The bottom half of that top 10 is soft. And then the top, 4 or 5 guys, I mean, those are legitimate guys. He needs to fight those people. But, Bernard Hopkins hung out at, and also Marvin Hagler hung out at middleweight for, a great number of years. And what would happen was that as these challengers would prove themselves and work their way up in the ranks and and create a mandate for them, to be fought by the champion, they would come up and then they would summarily get beaten down. I have no problem with Canelo fighting, Andrade after, I think last night, I think he proved that he belongs in that upper echelon that includes all those four guys I just mentioned. I'd have no problem with that. But
Can I rebuttal that? Look, I don't mind seeing that fight. I've seen enough boring guys fight Canelo and trying to stink out the joint. Look, that'll be a good fight because you'll get an undisputed champion. But if Canelo dares to be great to fight Kovalev and knocks him out, I don't want to hear anything, like no excuses or anything, because I've debated a couple of other people and I was on another podcast. Some people still won't give Canelo credit. I will say this though, he has to be at 175. I don't want to see any catch weight, but if he beats Kovalev, that's a great win.
If he fights him at 175 and knocks him out, I mean, who could possibly quarrel with that? Yeah, no, I agree with you, but I mean, I just don't see that fight happening at 175 with no conditions. I mean, imagine you're Canelo's manager. I mean, would you agree to that?
That's a good point. That's what I want to find out. But I have seen Canelo take risks. I don't know about 175. It might be at a catch weight, but I hope it's not 170 or anything below that. If it's 175,
there's no way Kovalev's getting down under 75. I think I always thought he was tied at 75.
He'll be.
Listen, guys. Unless he's getting paid silly amount of money to make 170, there's no fucking chance he's making that weight. That guy is. Listen, if that was getting made with the full 175 limit, I guarantee you, Kovalev's coming in at that ring at 190 minimum. Right, and Canelo's like he's fucking demanding catch weights for fucking Cotto, man. You're talking about fucking fighting Kovalev at 175. Behave.
Just what I want to say, I heard Kim and Cintron say on one of the podcasts, I think it's Grueling Truth, that when he fought Canelo was walking around 170 that time. I don't think Canelo's small. Like height, people get mixed up with height and body mass. Kovalev will be the much bigger guy, but he's already been beaten by guys who are smaller and guys who weren't deemed as big punchers. Ward, even though it's a controversial stoppage, that right hand he landed on him, he was bound to knock him out, I thought, and he hurt him. And he's been down against guys who are not big punchers. Canelo will probably be this much smaller guy on the night, but I think he's big enough to beat him. But I would rather see that. That's a fight that I'd probably be more intrigued by.
It's an interesting one, actually, to be honest with you. I'll tell you one thing I'd be interested to see about that fight is Canelo's body attack. Because I've always said before, and Steve will even attest to me saying this about Kovalev's no liking to the body. He's crystal to the body and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how Canelo, who I think he dropped fielding, dropped a number of fighters with left hooks and stuff like that, but it'll be interesting to see how Kovalev would take that shot to the body off like a Canelo who, if it's at the full 175 limit, which, by the way, I would give Canelo a massive, massive respect, by the way, if he took this at 175, because this catch weight stuff just does my brain in and stuff like that from time to time, but it's a big thing.
Yeah. Can I see, look, I'm probably getting slagged off, I can see in the chat, but Kovalev, his own trainer, John David Jackson, said he almost knocked him out in sparring with a body shot. Kovalev's been folded before. Look, Kovalev is probably the bigger boxer. For Kovalev, he'll have to try and keep the range and use his jab. But Canelo, I've seen him against good boxers. Look, they're not as big as Kovalev, Danny Jacobs, Gennady Golovkin, but he managed to rough those guys up. And I don't think Kovalev could take a shot like those guys. I know Danny Jacobs, his chin is not that good, but he went ultra defensive in that fight. I don't think Kovalev could do that. But I got to go. I just wanted to talk one more thing about pay-per-view. I think it's crazy that Pacquiao Thurman is a pay-per-view on the same night as Dilla White and Rivas. That's not a pay-per-view. I think Thurman Pacquiao is a good fight. I wouldn't mind paying for something like that, but 4 a.m, you can't be doing this, putting on 2 pay-per-views on the same night. And one is an international fight, and they've done this in December with Warrington and
but they're marketing to different audiences. Except for a few really hardcore British boxing fans, I don't think anyone would really be buying both.
That's what I'm trying to say. I don't even think that many people will buy the Thurman fight as well. The coverage quality of the ITV cards hasn't been that great. There's way too many advert breaks in between each round, and I don't think it's worth pay-per-view. If Spence and Mikey wasn't a pay-per-view, even though it was deemed as a mismatch, then I don't know how you could turn around and put this on pay-per-view. I think Eddie Hearn has ruined boxing that now we got too many pay-per-views.
Tut, Hamid, you're being very negative towards Matchroom there.
I think you should just put everything on pay-per-view. Just put Conor Ben on pay-per-view, and then let's see what happens then.
Conor Ben's pay-per-view date is coming. Don't be under any illusion. That's coming.
All right. It's good speaking to you guys. I'll catch you guys.
Yeah, cheers, Hamid. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Thanks.
Cheerio. Bye. Right, a few questions, guys. Anything from next week, which there is very little, and then we'll have the Bellew of the Weeks and get out of here for another evening. Episode 329. Hamid was with us there. Donny's with us as well. So is Andy. So is Rob. Question on Rigondo coming to you very shortly, Rob. Get prepared for that one. Andy, going back to a Demetrius Andrade theme, you'll be desperate to hear from Chris Blackman on this one. He said, if they fought, would Billy Joe Saunders avoid that Andrade wild left hand all night, or eventually get put down like Selecki?
No, he would avoid it. And to be honest, I think that fight is a disgusting fight, to be honest, as in like boring as fuck. Because as Rob says, you know, Andrade's just no good to watch. I've said it as well, as I'm no interested in watching him. I'd watch him fight Saunders. Obviously it's a technical chess match, that fight. But who wins it? Personally, I think it's a 50-50, to be honest, but I've got no interest. As I say, it's like the heavyweight division for me and stuff like that. I'm not watching fights for the heavyweight division unless it's the top 3 guys, or top 2 guys, we should say now, actually. But it's the same with this fight as well. You know, we want to see Andrade tested. I want to see him in with better opposition. He's had his gimme fights. He's got his world title. You've had your few easy defences. Let's step up and test yourself. You said you wanted 50-50 to fight Cotto. So just step up and just fight a couple of name fighters. You know, I don't know who they're really going to end up fighting. It's probably going to be some sort of kind of WBO mandatory pick defense and stuff like that. But if it's one fight I want to see in middleweight, I want to see Saunders fight, because we said it before as well. After his last fight, Saunders, he doesn't belong at 160. 160 is his division. If he's in shape, if he's in the right frame of mind, and he's training properly, I want to see him fight Andrade next. That would be the fight to get made. If not, Andrade against, did I say? No, it was Charlo against the Pole. That's who I was mentioning about possibly getting made, or Charlo against Jacobs. But no, I want to see Saunders and hopefully, as I say, if the politics just get put to the side for a wee bit, because obviously Warren would want to keep Saunders for his own BT shows and stuff like that. But I want to see Saunders fight Andrade. You know, 2 technical fighters. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out in the end. And to be honest, I've not really got a horse in the race, actually, to be honest, because Saunders I don't mind, but he's just an irritable, dislikable wee ball bag. You know, him and that kid Galahad, just the way they conducted themselves and that. So I wouldn't be too averse to see him take an L at some point as well. But we'll wait and see.
Yeah, we will. Hamid was mentioning earlier about he would take Charlo against Andrade, and he was sort of making it out as if it was, oh, well, I suppose I would take that if it was a last resort. But the current climate of boxing with politics, I actually think Charlo versus Andrade getting made would be an achievement. Even the fight of Charlo against Jacobs, they all seem to be able to stand off at the moment, all these top fighters. So even to get any of them in the ring together would be an achievement. But as for Saunders, I think we maybe give these guys a pass if they're active, winning, exciting, doing things on a regular basis. But when you're like Saunders, getting popped for whatever he did, not fighting, blowing up in weight, then these things outside of the ring that he gets up to maybe piss people off a little bit more than they usually would. Former pro Matty Clarkson was tweeting during the week. I don't know what kind of personal situation he's got himself into, but I thought it was quite funny the way he said, my wife and my ex, who I have a child with, are out tonight on a night out together. I can feel my ears burning from the living room. I'm sure you can. Quite odd how on earth he's ended up in that situation.
Sounds like a nightmare.
It does, doesn't it? You want to be careful where you stick it. I suppose that's the advice we can give everybody on this Sunday evening. Rob, we've had a question for you.
I never took that in my mind, but I just did it anywhere, you know. I didn't matter to me.
Worry about the consequences later.
Oh, what man didn't matter, you know, tall, short, blonde, black, tall or thin, didn't matter to me, man.
Male, female,
He's the can man.
Oh, aye. If it breathed.
The can man. Rob, yes, Joseph Kennedy has been in touch over on patreon.com/boxing asylum. He was watching the Rigondo versus Julio Ceja fight. He said, Rob, Do you think Rigo stood in front and traded with Seha because his footwork isn't there anymore? Or did he want to show us something a bit different? Hold on, Rob, it's quite a long one. I've never seen him take as many clean shots before, but it was a thrilling fight, a poor stoppage notwithstanding. Can we expect something different from El Shakal going forward? Or will we see the slick Cuban style return against the likes of Vargas or Kameda?
I think he's onto something there. I forgot about the Rigo fight, but I did watch it. Really enjoyed the stoppage from a technical execution point of the way that Rigo was throwing that left hand. He was ripping that left hand, and he was shipping some shots in order to let it go. I think he's onto something with the footwork, and I think when I was looking at it during the week, I was thinking, is this a bit of, because we don't really think about it as much with the smaller weights, but like Rigo's best weight is 118. So I don't know I can't remember what weight the Lomachenko fight was at. Was it at 130? Did he move up to 130 for 126? So now he's back down to 122. I think that going up and down the weights or putting up the weight has taken something out of his legs, a la Roy Jones, even though it's not as big a jump. But in the smaller weights, that 4 or 5 pounds is a big.
Wait, actually, guys, was it at 126 or 130?
I think it was 130, wasn't it?
I think it was too.
Yeah, so
yeah.
So I think like a jump that big for him to get back down to 8 pounds or whatever to 122. I think we've seen. Yeah, I think Joseph is right. I think the spring has gone out of Rigondo's step, and I'm sure he could still move technically. And I'm sure he's probably said to himself, "Look, I'm going to give him what they want for a change. Let me go out and bang this guy out. Like he's going to stand right there, so I can look good knocking him out." I think that was what the strategy was behind that matchmaking. But I think Joseph was right. Unfortunately, I think maybe fortunately for the viewers, you know what I mean, that we're not going to see Rigo again as good as he was. But you know, from an entertainment point of view, we know he can punch. You know, we know he's got a dynamite punch for the weight, and he can even probably carry that power up a little bit. And the power is the last thing to go. So he could be in exciting fights against those two guys. But I just think without the footwork, he was stumbled a couple of times there, and I don't think that guy's a particularly big punching opponent either. So I wouldn't rule out seeing Rigo get knocked out down the line, unfortunately. But I still think he has enough for both of them, even now.
Yeah, MB in the chat there, Donny was saying that he thought Rigo was trying to make it more entertaining. I would side maybe with Azier, who seems to think that the legs have gone. My impression, Donny, was that Rigo did look a bit sluggish.
Well, I was going to say it just might be a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. In other words, all right, he just had an embarrassing loss against Lomachenko not too long ago, where basically I think you could very credibly argue he could quit. He quit. He did quit. And, you know.
Oh, he most certainly jacked it. Yeah, he definitely jacked it, without a shadow of a doubt.
So, I mean, you know, he's probably thinking, well, you know, how do I get back in the good graces of boxing fans? Well, let me put on a show that's exciting. I'll get in there, I'll mix it up, and I'll knock somebody out. And he does have power, especially down at 118. He does have power down at that weight. So, you know, there's that. And then there's also the fact that, yeah, he probably is slipping a bit. I mean, however old any Cuban boxer is, just add 3 or 4 years, because we always know that they're always a little bit older than they claim to be because of the way that the Cubans game the amateur system. So, you know, he probably isn't what he used to be, and he probably is more susceptible to being hit. But at the same time, I think that his goal here was to put on a show and to make people talk about him again, and that succeeded because, as you can see, we're talking about him right now.
Yep, we're not talking about him anymore. That's the end of Rigo chat. Andy, next Saturday evening, Kazakhstan. This is the levels we're having to drag up here. David Oliver Joyce is fighting against a guy called Tehran. He seems to be seems to be popular over in Kazakhstan. Joyce, he fought there before, didn't they? They're trying to get him fights here, there, and everywhere, I suppose, because promotional issues. This Sultan Zorbek, they've been pushing him on the email saying he's quite good. And Zankosh Turov, heard from a few people, he's quite good, super lightweight, 23-0. But I suppose the most interesting one on this card, Andy, is Nordi Mubali.
Yeah,
we saw him, he stepped out, didn't he, against Roshi Warren in the last one, and he's in against this Villanova. Seem to remember, did Villanova fight Zolani Tete at one point? I want to say that. He did in Leicester Arena. There you go, just bought it up. Mubali's actually decent.
He fought Lewis Neri as well, and I'm sure he's got a win there, one of the Filipinos. Obviously a Filipino himself, but it's one of the top end Filipinos I'm talking about. Richie something. Forget his fucking name.
Oh, Richie Mepronom.
Yeah, is that? I think he's one of the kind of more kind of highly, well, not highly rated, but kind of more top end Filipino fighters.
He fought McJoe Arroyo as well, but he did lose that one. He's decent enough, isn't he, Villanova? And I like the look of Ubali. I think he's got skills and he can punch a bit.
Yeah, he's a decent fighter, mate. In all honesty, top amateur back in the day. Obviously, I'm pretty sure Colin beat him. Actually, I forget. I mean, even in the Olympics or the Europeans, I forget which one. But he's lost a number of fights to Zhao Ximing, and obviously he'd entered into the World Series of Boxing. I remember that as well. I just find it odd that he's basically campaigned pretty much. Obviously, he's Moroccan descent, so he's obviously fought Morocco once and stuff. But I just find it weird that he's getting shipped away out to Kazakhstan when I'm pretty certain there's Tony Yoka fighting soon, or is it next month in France? I really don't know why he's not having his first defence in his own country, for God's sake. That doesn't make sense to me. So especially against a Filipino fighter and that as well. So unless there's been cross promotional deals made and stuff like that, I just don't get it.
You're right, Andy. Following week, Tony Yoka is fighting the ever dependable Alexander Dimitrenko.
Oh, there you go. And my guy Suzuko, is he fighting on that card as well? Suleiman Suzuko, is he fighting on that card?
Let's have a look, shall we? I think it's in the outer parish suburbs. Yes, Suleiman Sissoko, 9-0. He's going on against Jose Carlos Paz. I recognise him. Who did he fight? Did he fight?
He's one of the. I'm sure he's one of the overhyped.
Fowler? Did he fight Anthony Fowler?
Fowler iced him, and a couple of other fighters iced him pretty early, mate.
It is him, Andy. You're right. Yeah.
He's got a padded record. I'm fucking certain that he's got something like 40 odd wins with 5 defeats or something like that.
Yeah.
If Fowler's beat him, and there was somebody else. It's not an American. It's another British fighter. Oh, it doesn't matter anyway. But as I say, this card. As I said, I thought O'Bally might have been best suited in his own country and stuff like that. This again, I'm not going to lay siege on this card. I know nothing about it. I just found it kind of quite interesting to see these two fighters fighting on a card in Kazakhstan. It's just odd to me, especially one's the world champion having his first defence. You would think you maybe try and get him fighting somewhere near, his hometown, or as you say, mate, on that card that Tony Yoka's fighting on with Sissoko and that as well. It's just odd to me.
As I said earlier, there isn't really anything to get the old blood racing next weekend.
We're getting to that point of the year now, mate. It's just July next. It's July tomorrow, isn't it? The first July tomorrow. Yeah. It's usually the kind of end of season for us at the minute, isn't it?
End of July. We usually keep running, but we usually only do an hour or so, don't we? In July, August, and all those type of months, yeah. Germany has a card, though. Thalani Mabenge, 15-0 welterweight. It's one of these IBO things against Sebastian Formella, who's 20-0. So at least they're both undefeated, putting their records on the line. Igor Machalkin, who fought Kovalev at one point, is going in against Timur Nikarkoev. And the only other one of interest, Andy, that I found, unless you saw anything on the list, was Tommy Frank over in Sheffield. Seems to be building up a nice record, talking about him fighting against Sonny Edwards. Yeah, he's going in against Jemzi Kibazangi, Commonwealth title. Frank knocked out Luke Wilton, so he came on my radar then. And as I said, they're talking about him maybe fighting Sonny Edwards at some point. So unless I'm missing anything, that seems to be everything from next weekend.
Yeah, as I say, it's pretty much dead next week. I was just trying to think off the top of my head. I know there's Koki Inoue's fighting. I think it's either Tuesday or Wednesday. There's I think there's some sort of card on Thursday, but I forget who's fighting. Give me a second to just go and pull this up, actually.
Just while you're bringing it up, actually, Andy.
I found it's the Danish card.
Mickey Nielsen. Yeah, Mickey Nielsen.
Yeah, and I think Holskin's sister, I think she's fighting on the undercard. Mm-hmm. And the one fighter I've been keeping Ben up to date with, that Mikhail Kessler's fighter, Abdul Khatib. Kid was born in Palestine. He's located in Copenhagen and stuff like that. He's fighting the ever durable Pole, Rafael. How do you pronounce his surname again? Jakiewicz.
Oh, is that him who fought Kell Brook? I think
he fought Brook. He fought Brook. He's fought all Kel Branco and Jojo Dan and all the guys and that. So Khatib's always had this problem with his gas tank and stuff. And it's only as an 8-rounder and that. To be honest, I don't think the kid's even going to get it to European level. If he gets a Scandinavian or a Danish title and that, then he's doing well there. But this, to me, if he doesn't get past this fight, in all honesty, I think, I'm not going to say he should call it a day, but any title aspirations that he's got, if he loses this fight, I think it's over, because this Paul, I think he's pulled up his record here, 50, 23 and 2. So he doesn't get stopped much, but he does lose a number of fights. Diane Dignam beat him in his last fight. Mohamed Rabi beat him 2 fights before that, who was a decent amateur. And it's just Troy Williamson's beat him. He's lost numerous fights to Robert Sazbinski. Ruben Diaz has beat him. Who else we got here? As I say, Jojo Dan, the Polish fighter who's highly ranked at middleweight at the minute. Matt Camille Zazmate. Branko's beat him. Leonard Bundo knocked him out as well. So I think for this kid, if he doesn't beat him, it's not boding well for his for title fights and that.
I think you mentioned Mohamed Rabi there. He's maybe signed with Gary Hyde at
He
one
has,
point.
yeah, I think he still is with Amai.
Seems to have gone off the radar. Maybe just my radar, I don't know. But they're talking about Tony Yoka in the chat. Chase Athletics mentioned that, yeah. But is Tony Yoka's suspension lifted? It's one of the strangest situations, that suspension thing with
This is
Yoka,
why
because
he's
he
fighting next
slags everybody else off, doesn't he?
I think he got banned. I forget what it was. I think
Missing a test, I think.
Yeah, I think
he missed too many.
He missed 3 tests, I believe that's what it is. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Somebody can correct me on it. But it's three tests, and he got banned for a year. This is his year ban up now, I think.
Yeah, so he's probably saying, well, I haven't failed a test, but I mean, flip me, if you're missing 3 tests, then there's questions to be asked, I suppose, isn't there? He needs to sort that out. Right, let's get on to Belly of the Weeks, and then we shall finish up, everybody. Thank you for sticking with us. I'm not here next week. Hater Dave will be in the hot seat, so get ready for those delights of Hater Dave. Gabe will be on as well, helping him out. So, yeah, I'm away for the week. Belly of the Weeks, Rick Law came in with the first one. Prince Patel, someone on Instagram said, fan of you, Prince, since day one. You will smash the IBO world title fight. I'm a Princeaholic. Prince Patel seemed to like this one. In a world full of chicks trying to be Kim Kardashian and dudes trying to be Thanos, try being a Princeaholic. Hashtag quote, hashtag meme, hashtag male, loves the hashtags, hashtag positive, hashtag vibes. We can all become Princeaholics maybe and follow Prince Patel around the globe.
Fucking die, man. But can we just end this right now and say that we'll give it the Cougan Cassius, man?
1,000,000%.
By the way, I've got
100,000,000%.
I've got a funny story off the back end of this, by the way, if we're going to nominate this one, because I've got a story. I'm telling you right now, Patel would knock him out, and I'll tell you the reason why. Just come back to me on it.
Okay, I'll keep going, and then whenever I need a drink of water or something, Andy, I will bring you in to help me out. Ryan Younger has nominated Huey Fury for fighting Samuel Peter on this Jeddah undercard, where Amir Khan is going in against Billy Dibb. Belly of the Week for this shit show, surely, said Ryan Younger. Yes, happy to get on board with that one, Ryan. Who's been going back and forward? Tommy Coyle and Ryan Garcia. I've always fancied getting on the Ryan Garcia chest and seeing if he's a proper Mexican, says Coyle. He tagged in DAZN and Matchroom. He fancies that one. Jay Shaka jumped in. Garcia doesn't need that fight. Tommy Coyle is all wrong for you. All out war. Harold Anand nominated Jay Shaka for that comment. Ryan Garcia does seem like he's interested in that. Garcia against Tommy Coyle. I'd like to see Coyle retire, to be honest, but Garcia would beat him. Danny Robson, Dr. Popolowski has nominated Vladimir Klitschko, the former world heavyweight boxing champion, was forced to evacuate a boat after it caught fire, according to Buzz.ie. I don't know if Shannon Briggs was in the vicinity at the time. Maybe he was. Richard Barnes was talking back and forward with Enzo Macronelli about the Oscar De La Hoya Floyd Mayweather fight, 2007, possibly off the top of my head. Richard Barnes thought that De La Hoya had done enough. I still say he beat Mayweather that night. Was very unlucky not to get the decision. Chad Hogan nominated him for that. What do we need in boxing, everybody? More belts, I hear you cry. I'm fully on board with you. Gavin Graney has nominated WBC for their WBC Franchise Championship. And they've also introduced a sympathy belt. If you go over to facebook.com/boxing asylum, you can see our own little mock-up there. But the franchise belt is real. Canelo is the champion. And they get a cut of his future purses as well. So well done to the WBC.
And you know what? The WBC, the fucking cheek of them to give him the franchise belt. When he said before, when they mandated the Golovkin fight, I'll vacate this belt and I'll never fight for it again. And now they're all back in bed with Canelo. They were the first ones backing him at the Mexican meat scandal, and now they're just making up a belt and giving it to him. It's pathetic. Like
WBC are indeed pathetic, says Rob Kelly. Danny Robson has nominated Marcus McDonnell. BT Sport put out a social experiment. If you come across this post, tell us who you think the greatest British boxer of all time is. The referee, Marcus McDonnell, jumped in. Joe Calzaghe. Well, fair enough, but his reasoning: 46 fights, 46 wins, 32 by KO, inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Joe did not dodge anyone. He beat Eubanks, Kessler, Hopkins, Roy Jones Jr. when they were all in their prime, says Marcus McDonald. I think maybe Kessler, Rob, was in his prime. Not sure about the other three.
Yeah, well, I mean,
think,
the B-Hop one looks better in overtime, even though I thought he lost that fight overtime because of what B-Hop went on to do after he lost to Calzaghe. But Roy Jones was a ghost of Roy Jones when they fought. And Eubank was fucking spent as well, I think, wasn't it? It was coming to the end, even though that was a good win. But
Yeah. Well, Jones was that spent though, wasn't he? Calzaghe had said in his autobiography years earlier that he wouldn't fight Jones because he was too shot.
Yeah, but the thing is, Eubank took a fight in like a week's notice or 5 days notice, and he came down for like 180 to make that fight because I think he hung about up at cruiserweight or something like that, trying to get another fight with somebody else. I need to go back and check that, but I remember see Eubank was a cunt for making weight at middleweight, but I remember once I seen him, or I'd read comments, or to what's his name, Jim Rosenthal. He was so bad at cutting the weight. He said to Jim Rosenthal, "Jim, my eyeballs feel dry." Fucking hell, man! That tells you how bad you are, eh?
Bad as Lee Selber.
Oof.
Go on, Don.
Well, I was going to say number one is that Tommy Allen would disagree dramatically, but number two is that wait, what?
Number two. What's number two, Donny? We all want to know. Come on.
Number two's a big shite. That's what that is.
Lee the Alcoholic Frotch made a good point in YouTube. He said the amount of people who call Eubanks is getting a bit weird. Yeah, I agree with that. I wonder what's happened to Donny. I think he's been iced.
His wife spoke to him there, I'm sure.
Oh, she's laid down the law.
his wife is a big Calzaghe fan.
Okay, we'll leave Donny for now, shall we? Doesn't look like he's not showing any signs of coming back, any signs of life. Sky Sports, plenty of signs of life from them. They were talking about Conor Benn, the Destroyer hashtag. Prince Patel would like that hashtag, the Destroyer, after he beat Kavula. Daniel Gillen was excited about the future. I could see Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. in the future. I can see the headlines already. Potentially a huge fight in the future if things pan out, says Daniel Gillen. Ben North is nominated for that. I don't think Conor Benn is going to be fighting Chris Eubank Jr. anytime soon. All of the belts, we're talking about Mayweather versus Canelo, 2013. Never forget how good Floyd was. Masterclass. Todd James said, no, I'm a Triple G man. But Canelo was weight drained and young. Prime for prime. The guy destroys Floyd. Patrick has nominated Todd James for that one. Box Royalty has nominated Anthony Fowler. Fowler got involved with somebody who was asking about CBD oil. DM me and I'll help you out, says Anthony. Mini Eddie here, says Box Royalty. Would punt his dog for a nugget.
Wait, Keith.
Yo.
I was going to say, sorry, I got cut off there for a little while.
Yeah, but the missus say to you?
Pardon?
What did the missus say to you?
No, she said...
Did she ask me if I was coming to the wedding or no?
No. Well, I wish you were.
We're all going.
I'm coming. I wasn't even invited.
Patreon, baby. We're all going.
Yeah, with a Patreon money, maybe that's possible. But no, actually, no. What I was saying was that with respect to Calzaghe, when you said that he beat a prime Roy Jones or whatever, I'm just all I can remember though is that scene from the dressing room of Calzaghe's son, who's watching. YouTube had just come out, right? And he's watching these videos of highlight videos of Roy Jones Jr. in his prime, and Calzaghe's son starts crying his eyes out, and he says, "Dad, you can never beat Roy Jones Jr." And Joe Calzaghe said, "Don't worry, son, he's not that good anymore."
Is that true?
That's on recording, and you can look it up. It happened.
It happened.
Okay, Barry Tompkins.
Happened. There you go. Also, Donny, you'll be pleased to hear announcement. Jason Chukwu is in the chat, Donny. Jason Chukwu is in the chat.
Well, it's always good. It's always a good week when Chukwu's in the chat.
It certainly is.
Chukwu's want to fight me or something, is he?
He said, Rob. Chukwu said, I missed the card yesterday due to sleep. So there you go. Moving on, everybody. Whoa, what? What'd you say, Don?
That's a good reason.
Good reason, exactly. You stay with us, Don. Coming to you very shortly. Daniel Gillen has been nominated again by Wooly Skull for his chat. He thinks that they can definitely get this Eubank against Ben fight on. Christine Frampton was talking about people going to boarding school. Michael Buffer jumped in. It's not really Buffer tweeting, is it? It's one of the lackeys. British Boxing Blog nominated him for that. David Wright says, hot as shit outside, but I'll cool myself down with these Anthony Fowler tickets. And then he had a bunch of about 10 in his
poor
hand.
bastard, by the way.
And Chad Hogan nominated him because I think it was the next day or something. The Fowler fight had been cancelled.
He took it well though, because I messaged him and I said to him, "You still heated, mate?" I says, "Fucking gutted, man." But he took it well, you know. That's what you want, you know. He take the piss out of somebody, but poor bat. He had like 6, 7 tickets, 8 tickets from that. I don't know. I forgot to check the prices of them actually, but fucking hell. Hopefully, we're in there like £120s or £300 tickets, like.
Oh dear, poor fella. But yeah, he did, Andy's right. He did take it well. Rob Harding has nominated Ryan Walsh. All the belts put up the video. Ryan Walsh entering the ring tonight, smooth as fuck. Walsh tried a little jump into the ring and he had a couple of stumbles, unfortunately. Stay humble and you never stumble. Don't try that again, Ryan, if I was you. He went a bit Prince Nazim. Rossi Beardsworth was loving David Allen. Apparently someone's put on Allen's Wikipedia. David Allen is nicknamed the Top Shagger. Allen is known for his toughness inside the sheets and is a 2-time Commonwealth heavyweight title challenger. As of May 2019, he is ranked the best heavyweight in the United Kingdom and the best heavyweight in the world rankings, according to Babe Station. Joe Lands has nominated that for the edit of Wikipedia. Chad Hogan has nominated Curtis Woodhouse. Woodhouse is getting on board Luke Campbell win over Lomachenko. Agree 100%, says Curtis. I think Luke is well worth a bet. I fancy him. But if Woodhouse is putting his money down on Luke Campbell to beat Lomachenko, then maybe that's why his little betting service didn't go too well. Maybe it's still going, I don't know. Ryan Stevens is getting on board a potential fight between Anthony Fowler and Lawrence Okoli. Would be a quality fight, says Ryan. Fowler against Okoli. Matt Simpson's nominated him for that one, Rob. Where do you even start? There you go.
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead, man.
You're breaking up. I think I'm breaking up, am I?
No, you're fine.
Maybe I'm breaking up. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
No, I heard Chuckles wanting to fight me, man. Chuckles wanting to fight me. He said catch weight at 190. I can make 190, no problem. I just tell him I'd be hot, but I would never lose to a fellow man.
We did lose you slightly there, Rob, but I know that you're ready to rumble with Chukwu, so I'll pass the message on to him. Rob Kelly, everybody. Ready to fight with Jason Chukwu. In the chat, Oscar De La Hoya is up for a fight as well. He was a fine fighter in his day, De La Hoya. For anybody who's only sees him as this sort of drink-addled promoter now wearing fishnet tights, don't be fooled. Oscar was the real Oscar was the real deal, man. You don't need me to tell you that, Rob. He was one hell of a fighter. No matter what he says now, he was brilliant.
I was brilliant, yeah. Brilliant entertainment. I don't think he was ever really in a bad fight. Like, not too many anyway. Not too many stinkers. Fought everybody as well. So, up the weights, down the weights, you name it. Fishnets, without fishnets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Top man, De La Hoya was.
Oscar's a serious dude. I only mentioned that because I saw someone on Twitter the other day slagging him off, and you could see that they're just treating him like...
you can't slag Oscar off.
But it's like a younger guy, Andy, like he's treating him just like a promoter. You know, he talks shit now and like a sort of doddery old man. But don't remember El De La Hoya, man. He was class.
I understand that because I could give him shit for like what he's saying here about the situation with Ruiz and Joshua. You know, he's talking about how it's not been signed off yet and there's problems trying to get the contract made. But, you know, at the end of the day, Oscar's a promoter. He talks shit, right? And we've all given him shit as well at the same time. But as a fighter, anybody who is a boxing fan, either going back 20, 30, 40, 50 years, or if you're a boxing fan over the last couple of years, if there's one fighter you want to go and watch over the last 20 years, you need to watch, it's Oscar De La Hoya. That guy, you say, went from super feather to middleweight. Right? He fought the peak fighters at their prime. Hopkins, Sturm, Trinidad. I mean, fuck, man. What more do you want for the guy? The guy, Floyd Mayweather's probably...
Mayweather, Mosley, Vargas.
Twice. He fought Mosley twice and stuff like that at his peak.
Pacquiao.
Juiced up as well, probably. Pacquiao at his peak. Mayweather at his peak.
Mayorga, Vargas, you name
Vargas. Proper grudge match. Come on, man. You cannot shit on that guy as a fighter. Never. You see in this podcast, I would never allow it. I don't even host it. I don't even own it, but I would never allow it to happen.
Well said, Andy. So anyway, let's shit on Oscar De La Hoya for Belly of the Week here. No, we're not actually. Dylan Roberts has nominated Eddie Hearn, because Oscar had to go at Eddie this week. He said, "Let me worry about Canelo and his opponent, which doesn't involve you. You worry about securing the rematch for Joshua with Ruiz for DAZN, which I hear you are having problems with." So De La Hoya still landing those left hooks on Eddie all those years later. Boxing Bet Guru was nominated Active Aussie for certain comments. I haven't quite screenshotted it. Active Aussie was asking if Stephen was on the crack. I don't know if he's talking about me or not, but I'm certainly not on the crack, sir. But the crack is flowing here tonight on the Asylum, everybody. British Boxing Blog has nominated McLovin. That's the problem with the phones. You can't always screenshot them when it's a long rant. But he was talking about Usyk anyway. We'll just flick on past that one. Chris Lynch was talking about, was it Andrade, I think, about Josh Taylor. Let's just flick on past that as well, shall we? Max Stoke nominated it. That's all the ones I've got, Andy. You have a Canelo one for us, I believe. No, it was Cougs, wasn't it, you wanted to go in on?
Yeah, I'd obviously be down on what was said, what was done, or what was supposed to have happened between Cougan Cassius and Prince Patel. But I know Patel's a bit a loudmouth, talks some shit and stuff like that. I want to see him get iced and that. But Cougan needs to realise here something, by the way. There's, I'll let you into a story. I was an 8-year-old laddie, right? And there was a guy locally to me, ex-British flyweight champion. Frankie Jones was his name, right? At his peak, 8.5 stone, right? Guy was a minor. Orangeman. Rob will love this one, by the way, right? He got iced off Johnny Caldwell for Belfast. He was a Republican, big Celtic man as well, right? So, yeah. So, Frankie being the proud man that he was getting gypped this night in the pub, right? Off a few boys. Now, imagine getting beat off a Republican and all that sort of stuff, This guy who's getting abuse and that was 17 stone 5. And the reason I know this story is because my fucking grandfather told me, and I was nearby as well because I saw the aftermath of it. So the boy wouldn't let up on Frankie Jones, flyweight as I says, right? And this Frankie, as I says, was 8-9 stone between fights, worked in the pits, solid grafter in his fucking prime. And this fucking drunk says to him, "Oh, you're a fucking bum getting knocked out off a fucking pin like that." Aye, well, see that bigot? That bigot was lying on his arse after one punch off a flyweight. So Coogan, you better watch what you're saying, because at the end of the fucking day, these guys are trained fighters. They train to throw punches, they train to take punches. Now, unless you're going to get Daniel Kinahan to give you a hand to give this guy a fucking kicking, watch for your mouth, because as I could see it, what you said to him was nothing really fazed him. So just watch what you say.
Plus, he's sitting there. He's getting ready for a fight. He's at the press. He's getting his hands wrapped, or he's at a press conference. He's getting ready to do a fight. He's not going to get up and have a scrap with a fucking IFL camera holder, YouTube guy or whatever, a couple of days before a fight and not have his fight. Plus, he's an 8-stone man, like Andy said. You're fucking 6'6" or something, Coogan. You know what I mean? You're going over to an 8-stone man, telling him you're going to cave his head in when there's security there. But you didn't go up and tell Tyan Boot you were going to cave his head in. And he's been saying that nothing but you have bent legs and all sorts of, and you're pouting and pouting and pouting. But you paid him restitution for the video views that he called you out on. You went down and put money in his hand after he said on a camera, you have bent legs and you're cheating on your wife. And he said he didn't do nothing about it. He doesn't do anything to Dillian White or any of these guys. He's not facing them down. Now, you're not fooling anybody with that. I'll cave your head in. You want to go cave anyone's head in. You know what I mean? And you want, like Andy said, you want to watch it looking for it with a pro fighter, because you get a box in the jaw that you won't even know, but you won't even feel or see coming. And that'll be the end of it.
Rob, sorry to interrupt you. What exactly happened then? I know you've gone over it more or less there. Briefly,
I just saw the clip. I don't know what the context is, and like he may well be in his rights to confront. But if you're confronting like me as a bigger fella, if I'm confronting there's no stat in knocking out some small guy. Like you could do that in a better way. But what he was doing was confronting him, and the security were getting in between. He was like, "Let me at him," kind of thing. And he says, "If you say it again, I'm going to cave your head in." Now, I don't know what Prince Patel said. He could have said something woeful, but keep that same energy for the likes of Tyan Booth and all those other fighters. That if you're going to be that way, or else just do it in a different way, because you're the guy behind the camera, dude. You're not in the ring. You know what I mean? And that one's going to end up bad for you. Keep saying to fighters that you're going to cave their head in and see what happens.
Well, what I will say, Rob, I'll refer people back to, I can't remember the episode now, but Tommy versus Coogan. Whenever Coogan come on and was going for Tommy, expecting Tommy to shit it.
Well, we all heard that one.
Aye.
We all heard that one. He was like, all he could say was "Hard man, Tommy," ain't you? As he froze, it turned into ice on the call because Tommy wasn't having it. And the same, didn't he say to someone in London, "Oh, where are you right now? Let me know when you're in London. We go meet up." And the man was like, "I'm in London right now." And Coogan, what did Coogan do? He blocked him.
Aye.
That showed him 6 stone, man. Go away.
I was going to say, I actually brought up the box rate rankings for Sri Lanka. Do you know there's not one single fighter ranked from minimum weight to heavyweight? So Coogan's got his chance here to step in here and be the pound for pound lineal king of fucking Sri Lanka here, by the way, if he's top is Prince Patel.
Andy, you talking about the box rate rankings reminds me of one of them Porky Russ videos recently. I was laughing. He was going through the matchroom card in your call, and he come on to, was it Shannon Courtney? And she's the only fighter like at her weight in Britain. I think it's like bantamweight. And then he went to her opponent, and her opponent's like ranked the lowest bantamweight in the whole world. Mm-hmm. And Porky Russ was going.
Well, I mean, Coogan is probably the best pound for pound in Sri Lanka, but sadly, there's no statue of him sitting there in the capital with bent legs.
He's box rec 893.
I've no problem with Coogan, by the way, but just Patel might be a lot of things. In that he is a professional fighter. He knows how to throw punches. I've not seen him fight for quite a wee while now. Actually, you need to think about it. But as I say, I'm giving you that example of Frankie Jones, what he did to a big man who's a non-qualified fighter. Right, Frankie was British champion. He'd fought fighters who had actually challenged for world titles and stuff like that. He had fought illegally up in the pits, up in the braes, to settle scores and for extra bits of money, just like Jimmy Wild did back in the 1910s and stuff like that. The proper Bevan boys, right? Watch what you're fucking saying, Coogan. I'm telling you, one of these days, as Rob says, it's no the big guys or the fucking great guys. It's the guys who know how to throw a fucking punch. And you didn't see it coming. What's it all saying? You then need power that knocks someone out. If you didn't see it's the punch you didn't see.
You don't see.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
I sparred with Oisin Fagan, who's what? Oisin's best weight was what? 9 stone maybe, right? Yeah. And we said we wouldn't do headshots because I so much more weight than Oisin or whatever. We were only having to move around, but we said we'd hit to the body. And I did all right with him. I was so much bigger than Oisin, it was hard for him to get in. But he fucking hit me in the ribs with a left hook to the body, and he fucking lifted me. And I was 14 and a half stone at the time. He's 9 stone. And he hit me in the with a left hook, and it almost I could feel me breakfast coming up, and he didn't even rip the body, you know what I mean? He just caught me nice, so yeah, like we said, you know what I mean? Watch what you say, do, because you could be on somebody else's, you could be on behind the gloves, sprawled out with Michelle Joy Phelps going ha 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 after Prince Patel knocks your lights out.
You're getting the same treatment as Paul Spadafora and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. there, Rob, then.
Yeah, the fucker, little Oisin, the bastard. It's good, lad, though.
Any more nominations? Anybody? Rob, you got anything for us?
No, I was firmly going for Coogan this week. The minute I saw that clip, preposterous. Yeah, so he's belly of the week this week.
Yeah, I saw people talking about that, but I didn't know the context. So the boys have sorted it out there. Who was I going to go for? I'm trying to flick back through them now. I like the Dave Allen one. I thought Ryan Walsh trying to jump over the ropes and making a pig's ear of it. But at least he had a laugh again, as Andy said earlier. He had a laugh to himself. So you can't take yourself too seriously in this game. Andy, any more nominations from you?
No, mate, I'm just wanting to vote for Coogan.
Well, that's 2 for Coogan then. What about you, Donny? Any nominations, or do you just want to go straight to the voting? Looks like Coogan could be a winner this week.
I'll go straight to Coogie Bear.
Straight to Coogie Bear from Donny. In the background there somewhere, in his car, hiding out. I'll go for Coogan as well. Why not? Clean sweep for the big lad, maybe getting back on the pod. He came on a few times back in the day. It wasn't just Tommy versus Coogan. He sat with us for about a good hour at one point with Rob Palmer on the call. Andy, remember those days?
He messaged me privately saying he wanted to come on the show immediately. So I actually had to end the podcast one Sunday and then restart another one just so I could get talk. That's what happened to Tommy v Coogan best on pay-per-view at a link that we created at the time. But in the end of the day, does anybody know a Sri Lankan that can fight apart from the Tamil Tigers? Anybody? No?
Well, I know one thing, Andy. I did cut out the clip for episode 300, so I'll try and find it for the future weeks, and I'll play the little couple of minutes of Tommy and Coogan back and forward for nostalgia.
Coogan could end up like that guy that tried to square up the Rocky Lockridge one time outside the liquor store in America.
Yeah, he didn't do that twice. Okay, well done, Coogan. Congratulations to you. As I said, I won't be here next week. Dave Loback will be in the chair alongside Gabe. So I'll be back on the 8th, 15th, will it be? Something like that anyway. You'll hear me again at some point, unless I die. In that case, you'll never hear from me ever again. Thanks for Rob Kelly for coming on. Also to Donny Baseball, good to hear from you again. Andy Patterson, Asylum Stalwart, always with us. H Money came on earlier as well, so did Hamid. And we also had James Branch Jr. Spoke well, good luck to him in the future. I've been Steve Wellings. We'll catch you all again in the chat, on the iTunes, on the YouTube. Don't forget to hit a like wherever you listen. A like and subscribe. We'll catch you the same place, same time next week. Bye.